Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Fight Night Rising, brought to you by Wisdom. My name is Khroen, and rejoining us, we have Boopasaurus back. Welcome back. How are you doing this evening?
Doing great. I'm so excited to be back. I saw that you guys had some pretty hype games last week. So
Yeah.
we got a new patch. We got some of the same players. We got some of the new players, and we're gonna get some really great lobbies as well.
Yeah, speaking of players, let's just go ahead and reintroduce them. We'll reintroduce some of them and introduce some for the first time. We have our last week's victor ever, so much actually, pulling out a very, very dominant victory. I mean, it was kind of close, but the games that were dominant were very much so. And of course, we have Daofu and Zaruma joining us from last week as well. And then returning, we have Gyalu Baby, Foam Gang, Seek, Rengar Bot, and Jose Paulo. Jose has internet restored, so coming back and surely going to try to reclaim that title, as he was not here last week, and that might have been part of the reason why Ever, was able to secure first place.
I mean, totally, because Jose has been running a lot of Assassins too, and that was a pretty good comp the last time we saw Fight Night, so that might have been a little bit of a gift, but Jose is back, and he's ready to take his crown once more, as I believe we're getting up to some of those really high numbers for consecutive weeks now for Jose. We won't count the internet outage, but yeah, this should be pretty cool, because technically we have 4 top 3ers, right? 1 from 2 weeks ago, 3 from last week, coming back, and the other half of the lobby trying to prove themselves here to make it into the top 4 this time around.
Oh yeah, definitely. And of course, all these players are going to be competing for their share of the Rising prize pool, $100 of which goes to the first place, second place earning $50, third and fourth place earning $25, and the top 3 will be invited back, as is tradition here on Fight Night Rising. But Boop, you mentioned it, I think briefly, we were on a new patch today. There was honestly a lot of changes. There always is the newness of the patches as happens on Fight Night Rising. We get to see the players really trying to learn this in real time, but there's already been a couple of things that are standouts, right? One being the Heimerdinger nerf. That is probably like one half of the AP comps, because just like Heimer Vel'Koz, Karma still really isn't being seriously considered, even though she got buffed yet again. But it's a lot just AD. Skirmishers got buffed, Jax comps are strong, Ukshan and Aphelios comps too. So, I mean, what do we expect to see here today? I know you're throwing out Assassins. We have Jose in the mix. Like, how do you expect that this is going to kind of take form today?
Well, one of my favorite things about Assassin players is it forces the whole lobby to play, like there's an Assassin player in the lobby,
Yeah.
right? All of a sudden, positioning becomes a lot more intensive for everyone involved. And I'm curious to see if Jose is going to be running these Assassins, because there was a little bit of a nerf on that Nocturne, but not enough to, I think, take it out of the running. It was pretty dominant. The other things that, were really interesting to see in terms of what was touched, it's so funny because the graphic that went out, there's not a lot of pictures on it, right? But there's a lot of words in this patch notes, and there are some really small things that I'm actually super intrigued by. Like one small thing I know is a quality of life change is spatulas no longer count towards your item amount.
Yes.
So it won't count towards those 10 minimum items anymore before that PvE round. And that's just nice to have. So now you're not going to have like a dummy spat sitting on your bench for the entire game until you get the other spat when an armory pops up or something like that.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. Just having a dead spat and a component that you can't use too long with the spat, it just always felt so bad. So we'll see how those changes come through, if we do have any spatulas that pop up, and I'm sure we will as we do load on into game number 1. On perspective of Ever So Much, our defending champion from last week had one game, I think it was game 2, that was first place, a couple of thirds, and then a bot 4, but still good enough to claim victory on the week. Excited to see how they're going to approach this week, because I believe it was last week they were what was it? I forgot what comp. I know they like wanted to run Draven, but then they weren't, because they said Draven is bad. But I'm curious to see if they do run Draven, given the fact that he was buffed into this week.
A lot of people have that kind of love of Draven, right? Remember, literally when they announced him, it was like, for all you people missing Draven, right? Like, there is something about that champ that's magnetic towards a lot of people. And with it being a little bit more of a friendly AD type of meta, we can maybe see a lot of people going, not a lot of people, a couple people going towards that direction by the end game. But here in the early game, Doesn't look like it so far, but that doesn't mean anything. Anything can happen as we move forward and we get some of these items. It's going to be a belt and a tier to start right now.
Yeah, belt and a tier, and actually a unit on board here reminds me of bringing up some quality of life changes. There's a pretty big Aatrox one that he'll now always heal himself even if his target dies when the spell's in animation. So it makes that Legionnaire kind of redeemed reroll composition with Callista, Leona, Aatrox actually a lot more consistent and powerful. And Ever might not be considering this as not picking up the Callista from the bench. Does have some pretty solid units nonetheless, though. The Riven, of course, being a solid one, even though Riven 3, or Riven in general was nerfed. Riven 3 took a kind of big nerf. Actually, a lot of 3-cost kind of reroll comps got nerfed. There was a little bit of nerfs to Riven, Nidalee, even like Lee Sin and Yasuo as well, the Nightbringers. I believe there was at least one of Rakan was the other one that got nerfed. So a lot of maybe 3-costs that were not going to be seen being 3-starred.
Yeah, and I think we're trying to push a couple, some of the power away from some of our 4-cost units like the Vel'Koz and attempting to put it into things like the Karma. We'll see if that's going to ring true, because Karma did get 10 extra Soul Flare damage. That does stack up, but that hasn't mattered so far, and I don't really see people picking up that Karma. I'm seeing her do a lot of damage, but still not consistent enough so far, as we're hovering the bell, and we're going to go ahead and put it on our friend Gragas, who is looking to do a little bit of chugging and jugging right now. Doing a little bit of, pre-gaming before the round, and we'll see if it's going to work out.
Looks like it here. I mean, the Riven being equipped with the Hand of Justice, giving her the healing to survive all of this, and the Gragas having the extra HP, complements the Dawnbringer synergy all that much better. Here we go, gets the heals coming through, so does the Riven. Ever playing very aggressive to start this game off with the win streak, even gets to pick up the pair of Sejuani's, pair of Aatroxes as well. We'll see if they get to hit any pairs after this item selection, because Sunfire Slam would be pretty good at this point, and does hit the Aatrox pair as well. So continuing to be off to a very, very good start.
Yeah, Dawnbringer starts can be really scary. There's just too much HP to go through for a lot of these earlier comps. As Galio having a little bit of a smattering of units too, keeping a couple things open, but right now going to stick with cycling through a couple units to see what feels the best once it's on the field. And we're going to keep trading units off until that timer goes and we decide whether we're going to keep pushing for these dubs, which it looks like with the Thornmail in the front line, or potentially lose this next round. But we're keeping that Nocturne and the Pike to get that Assassin buff.
Assassin buff online puts the bow onto the Nocturne, not the full Last Whisper yet, which honestly I think there's a big reason to go for a full Last Whisper slam. It's going to be good in the meta. There's many comps that can use it. I probably wouldn't have made the difference in this comp, I suppose, either way, just because Ever is so strong after slamming that Sunfire cape. But maybe playing for a Nocturne route, say if you maybe find 1 or 2 more Nocturnes, and perhaps if Jose isn't going that same route. I'm not sure exactly what Jose's been running the past couple of weeks, as we didn't see him here last week, but we can know safely that it's at least on Jose's radar, and you got to be thinking about that when you see Nocturnes in your shop or on your bench like there is with Gallo here.
So we're going to keep the bow on the Nocturne. No need to use it anymore right now. We already started that loss streak, and we're actually going to go ahead and econ, which I like that idea. I mean, we've lost, and we just saw how powerful that last comp was. Seek and Sneak is going to potentially, though, provide a win for Galio, and keep alternating these wins and losses, which is always frustrating for our players, because you want to get that econ going. Getting it stopped up like this is just keeping you from developing that snowball opportunity when it comes to making some money.
Yeah, actually, Gallo going to pre-level, buy out the rest of the shop, saying that, want to optimize the chance of hitting these 3 costs, or maybe even a lucky 4 cost, dare we say. But going on to this carousel, Ever is the only player still fully win streaking. I think that's the whole game, because there just aren't really components for that. And again, with Gallo now grabbing a sword, probably wants to pivot back into the AD style. It's just interesting that Gallo decides that this is going to be best on board right now, really giving no faith in the Assassins to have any early game pressure, and that's probably very warranted given the fact that we see Jose get to an optimal assassin comp a lot with open forwarding, not grabbing any assassins early, going 7 and rolling for it to stabilize at that point.
I mean, a little bit earlier, we would see a lot of people try to flex. We got the Tristana online with same kind of items, and if the rats came through, you kept with the Tristana. If not, you got a lot of Nocturnes. You could potentially switch it out, but those choices are going to be shown in terms of its impact here super soon. We're still really early on in this lobby right now, and so Assassins should be doing a lot of losing right now because Nocturne 1 is not a unit you can depend to really do anything. To be completely honest with
Definitely.
you. And that is on purpose. So once you get that Nocturne 2, though, that is when you start stabilizing and you can kind of see your assassin players get sticky on that leaderboard. We have 2 people at 80 HP right now on the bottom of the totem pole. But once again, when you're on the bottom of the totem pole, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be last at the end of the game, as we do have a Rageblade Vayne. This is funny because we were talking about this a little earlier on, and we were like, are we going to see Vayne? Because Vayne got a total, guys, this is huge, of 10 attack damage over the last 2 patches. And it might be, so we were talking about it actually might be a pretty big difference in these rounds specifically. Let's see if it's going to end up mattering. So far, it's been loss after loss. That tier 1 Vayne not really doing much so far.
And it was these rounds that the kind of, I guess, the power gap needed to be fixed. And with Vayne having, these buffs of the past 2 patches, is it going to be enough? There's already a Thresh 2 on this board. Daofu loses the last 3, but goes on a win right before the neutrals. Not the best when, of course, it comes to, trying to streak, but not the worst in HP as well. And again, it goes back to that Vayne buff. Just needs to hit more Vaynes if Daofu would seriously consider sticking with this line. It's not one that we've seen in a while, actually. I think it was really back in set 5 proper with the shadow items that we saw some real Vayne priority with like Zeke's Blake Herald and things like that. But we are on a new set. If we think about Forgotten, it's usually, or it was MF. Recently, it's been a little bit of Draven, but now maybe the Vayne can have her time to shine yet again.
Maybe just in the early game. A lot of these items can end up going on a Draven a little bit later, right? But keeping the Ranger in also keeps a potential Aphelios online if you do hit it a little early. But as of right now, we've got the 4 Forgottens, right? They're going to power up with this win. We're going to add some tankiness to the Hecarim, so it seems like we're invested. We'll see how long that Vayne stays on the field. We hopefully get a Vayne 2 this round. Would be cool, but we're going to go ahead and Econ instead. We're pretty confident in our Vayne. Oh, we decided to tier 2 that Hecarim, so it looks like we're going to start rolling down at level 4, which should mean our tier 1 units pop up as quickly as possible, but it's actually been every other unit so far, as we have invested about 30 gold in this roll down, and we got a Hec 2 though. So that's a pretty good early frontline unit. Let's see how it is going to be against Galio Baby, who has gotten a pretty nice frontline going.
Oh wow, yeah, Galio Baby actually has a Brawler emblem on the Olaf and 4 Brawler in, leveled up to level 6 on 3-1, trying to very aggressively go for stage 3 victories, trying to preserve HP. And it's gonna happen in this round. Daofu just does not have enough damage to get through all of that beef. Daofu did... I thought they were going to go to 40 gold because they sold the Thresh and weren't trying to, tier 3 Thresh and Hecarim, things like that. Really just was rolling to try to find the Vayne upgrade more than anything. I guess the Hecarim was nice too, but it was not enough. But now, having not hit any of them, maybe you got to reconsider. Like, do I just go for, and what you mentioned earlier, Boop, just pivot out of this, just go for Rangers. You have the Rageblade, you have a bow. These are going to be solid Aphelios items, but it's going to take a lot longer to get there because of that gold that we just spent.
And if you're trying to, if you're catching up trying to play Aphelios, it's probably one of the harder things to do, right? I've seen so many people throw on that Aphelios with the positioning, with, Assassins in the lobby. But speaking of which, Jose not running Assassins, just running awful right now on the board. Tier 1 units, we might get a couple kills with the Yasuo, newly nerfed Yasuo, but I mean, we got 1 unit, and I think that was a little bit of a gift, really, as Jose is going to continue, we'll say, econing right now. We'll get to 50 gold. We decided to level up at 3-2, and to have 42 gold remaining at level 6 at this point in time is actually pretty nice. So we'll be pretty flexible in how we can run with this gold, but it's going to get a little stiff here soon because 50 HP is not a lot. This is definitely on the low end and moderately concerning as we're starting to switch out some of our units right now, getting some brawlers in.
And the Nocturne that we so
Yeah,
know
there
and
it
love and
is.
expect Jose to bring. I mean, even at the top of his screen, the overlay says Nocturne only. Still, Jose is on this Nocturne kick. And like you mentioned, Nocturne did get a little bit nerfed coming into this patch. Still probably good enough in an ideal world. Can Jose be living in an ideal world, however? We don't know quite yet. It really depends on how his level 7 rolldowns treat him. But if we know anything from Jose's past, Jose rolls and hits, right? Like every single time
A
it feels like.
frustratingly amount of times.
Yes,
I
exactly.
remember us getting like legitimately angry the last time we saw it because he got a Nocturne 3 from having 4 Nocturnes in a single 50 gold roll. Just saying. Just
Yep.
saying that happened. Plus a Diana 2, plus an Ivern 2, plus a bunch of other stuff as well. So is that luck going to remain for Jose? And we're running out of time. That was a 10 HP loss, 40 HP. Oh, we haven't even gotten to our Radiant item yet, but we are going to see our first stim, which is our Radiant Orb that's going to be coming in here for Jose right now. And I do actually like the timing here because if you're going to nosedive, right, you're going to get the stimmy and then you're going to get the Radiant item and then you're going to get your PvE round. So there's a possibility that at the end of the last PvE round, Jose has the strongest comp in the game.
Definitely. And if not then you have the 4-2 armory as well. And I don't even need to wait until then because we're already getting a lot of good stuff. It has a pair of Nocturnes now, gets the Ivern from that shop as well. Even just a Galio in there for 3 Sentinel, bit of a front line is decent. Did I believe take a sword off of the carousel? Yes. Might make a Deathblade instead of the IE because the glove was unfortunately stolen away by Daofu. Not going to use these swords yet, though. I'm going to at least wait until next round to see what the Radiant item will give. And if it's not a Nocturne item, Jose is kind of in trouble.
Kind of, yes. Not just kind of. That might be a little bit
Yeah.
of an understatement because we're still rocking a Nocturne 1. And while this comp is doing a little bit better because Ivern is kind of a good unit, we actually might pull the win out here. It's going to be all up to this Ivern to keep soaking some of this damage while the Nocturne is starting to ramp up. But because of that anti-heal, things are going to...
Oh,
Daisy coming
a
in
new
late.
cast.
Yeah, fashionably late to the party, making this only a
Oh,
1 potential unit loss.
good
And it's
loss,
going
good
to be
loss.
the Riven, and that is a great loss for Jose, especially in that situation, because we got a little lucky on that second Ivern cast there.
Definitely a little bit lucky. You get a chance to see what Jose's Radiant options were a bit later, but we'll move on over to Zaruma, who is leading this lobby in HP, gets presented with a couple options, but decides to go for the Glamorous Gauntlet. It looks like this does want to be some sort of AP composition, of course, with that pickup, whether it be Vel'Koz or, actually, maybe it still could be a Lucian randomly, probably just in there for now for the Candier and Sentinel buff. Probably just going to be a Heimer or Vel'Koz.
Yeah, could be. Could be Lucian still. That's always in that back pocket. That's why that comp can be a little of a mystery, because when you do pivot into it, you can kind of camouflage yourself as you do it. And that Lucian 1 not going to have anything going for it, and we're going to keep investing into this Senna. Whew, that's a lot of damage on that Senna ult. So where those auto attacks don't really feel like they hit anything, this ultimate is going to one-shot most people. 1k on that attack, as we've got Mr. Chuggin and Juggin right there. Not going to be living that long, as Phone Gang going to be taking another L. Seems like this lobby a little weak right now in terms of power level. No one seems to be completely running away with it, with an example of this particular team being 92 HP with a Senna 2. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like this comp is bad, but there's definitely other games where this would be middle of the pack and something else would be really dominating.
Yep.
Whether it be like an early like Riven 2 or Nidalee 2 or some
2-star
skirms
4
or something.
cost. Yeah, that pops up a little early.
Could even be that too, definitely. I think there was one that we saw last week. I believe it was an Aphelios by Ever. That was like Aphelios 2 by like mid-stage 3 or something. It was like super, super early.
Ooh, nice economy right here from Zaruma, because We got to level up, stick over 50 gold, and now we can be pretty intentional about how we end up rolling down. Still, a lot of tier 2 units. We finally start matching those pairs. We get that front line going, which is going to make this Senna even more powerful, but for how long? Is the question. Seems to be totally okay now. The squishier the comps, right? The more tier 1 units there are, the stronger Senna is going to be. But the more of these comps that start getting going, like this one, is going to be a little bit of a struggle as we finally have Jose with that Nocturne 2, IE, and Runins with the Diana as well. We put the Rascal's Gloves on the Diana, and we got that ult off, and this should be a pretty easy win for Jose, who also happens to have an Ivern, 2, and a Volibear, I believe I saw. So when we left, a lot of things happened with Jose.
Yeah, that's the 4-1 roll down for Jose and the Radiant Armory, of course. Get to see what this blessing will give. A couple components to Foam Gang. But I mean, back to Jose for a little bit. Jose's actually his Radiant options. I took a look at the VOD. They were the Radiant Last Whisper, which already had a Last Whisper in the Nocturne, and then a Demon Slayer, so the Radiant Giant Slayer, which didn't really want, so decided that Rascal's Gloves would be the best option. Throw those into Diana. But it's not a Nocturne item, and that's what was worrying. While Jose might have stabilized for this next couple of rounds, he's going to be a bit probably scared going into the middle of Stage 4 and into Stage 5 if he can't land on 3 perfect Nocturne items. However, we are on board with Foam Gang right now. Went level 8, rolling for that A-Bomb Spellweaver composition, but it does feature a Zyra too, and Zyra, all these items are good. They're going to fall off eventually if they're just left on a Zyra.
It's going to be a stun bot, and you're already not one-shotting some of these tier 2 units. The Senna surviving. It's going to be a nice Thresh Hook as well. And Seek going to be running that Draven, something that was really popular when a couple weeks ago for Fight Night, and is looking pretty good right now. You don't need that Bloodthirster because of that Legionnaire buff, but that Draven should be good to go. Seek also coming off of a pretty great TFT couple weeks. I think won a tournament last week against all 4 Worlds qualifiers for EU, so coming in pretty hot. And I'm always curious, Khroen, like, is that momentum something in TFT that is sustainable, or is every tournament kind of its own thing? Speaking of people like Seek, who have found tournament success over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, that's definitely very interesting. I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. You can, especially if the meta isn't too different and you've had recent success in a similar meta, you can definitely carry that momentum forward because you have that understanding. And as long as you're able to maintain and stay one step ahead of the rest of the game, definitely so. But maybe these changes that come through with every patch, maybe it's not quite as comfortable. Then we could see some we could see some probably stuttering there, but able to win out against so many good players, I would expect to see some similar success here, I think, even on this newer patch from Seek.
Cool. Yeah. I think TFT is a little bit of a different beast because of those changes, right? That momentum week to week might not be strong, but that confidence can definitely bring you there. As we're going over to Rengar bot right now. Rengar, I'll never forget your release on the Rift, buddy. Anyway, and swim Rengar with AP Rengar back in the day. But we're gonna go ahead and pick up that Chain Vest onto that Vel'Koz. We do have a couple Vel'Koz comps online right now. And Gwen gets picked up by Zaruma, who did get a little bit of a buff. So we'll see if the Mystics start getting splashed in, knowing that we've got the Fiddlesticks around. Even though Fiddlesticks did get nerfed, that damage reduction should be pretty good for a lot of our units, as it's going to be a Vel'Koz from a pack this time for Rengar bot. We're going to put all of our tank items on our friend Irelia. And we get a couple good rolls here as well.
Yeah, and I believe we didn't actually talk about the Sentinel changes yet, but they were reworked a little bit, Boop, and that's the fact that the Sentinel buff now will go on the Sentinel with the most items, so that will be always Lucian. You don't need to put like a Warmogs on him to give him the highest health, just to make sure he gets the buff. You'll be getting it with just having 3 items. And if it's tied with another Sentinel, the one with the most attack speed will get it. So let's see what this new Sentinel buffed Lucian will be able to do here. It looks decent so far.
Yeah, it looks decent, but so does that Nunu who was hungry, and it's going to be more like the Last Supper right now for our friend here, is this Nunu is going to gain health during the rest of this fight. And look at that Viego nerf. You just saw it right
Oh,
here and right now. The damage reduction after the initial cast was definitely impactful in that moment. We're going to go into overtime, and actually, this Nunu is going to lose some of that healing, and it's going to be the Viego anyway. What a comeback!
yeah, that was not quite how I expect that round to go after Lucian was eaten. But okay, Lucian 2 now, so Rengarbot feeling much more comfortable about that one. The HPs in this lobby are still fairly close. Jose has stabilized on a win streak at 32. Not quite sure how far he is away from Nocturne 3, so we'll have to check in on that a bit soon. But Gyalu and Ever, the members at the top, are starting to fall off there a little bit. The momentum isn't quite keeping all the way up, but it is for now. Just have to see where people are going to land on, if they land on their Vel'Koz 2s or their Heimerdingers, and it looks like Zaruma actually has both.
Another good example of this lobby not necessarily running away with power and why we see such a close lobby. This really truly is anyone's game right now, as this Vel'Koz 2 is probably one of the stronger units on the board. Unfortunately, this Lucian is also going to be a pretty strong unit, and that Vel'Koz had a pretty rough first ultimate, but that's going to drop us even further down. And, you know, outside of Yaoyu Baby, everyone within 9 HP of each other.
Oh wow, yeah, you're right. It was so much closer than it was even in the last round, Boop. This is kind of a crazy game. Yalu being the only member above 50, and it's not even off the back of like having a really nice itemized carry. It's just that, again, the Brawler emblem giving Nunu some HP is stacking him with items and saying, all right, go for it. This is actually a really low power lobby overall, but it let Giallo be able to go 8 comfortably, have a decent amount of gold to roll with, because we're just going to land on a bit of a mirage of synergies here. It's going to be 2 of everything, hopefully landing on a Draven 2 and giving him that Bloodthirster with the components that are there. And we hit a pair. Jax as well, which would be nice for his Ironclad buff potentially.
Going to be picking up some of our Revenants too. Revenants seem to find their way into almost every single comp. You only need the 2 to get the res plus the third. All of them provide utility, particularly the Ivern and the Volibear. But we are going to tier 2 that Fiddlesticks, and that's a pretty big deal. Yeah, we got a little bit of a nerf. But does that mean that we're going to try to keep this other Mystic in? The answer is no, as it seems like we're making decisions up until the final timer, and now we got to put all of our items on to get that value. And that Draven still looking at a tier 1 right now.
Yeah, oh, Bramble's still on the bench. It looked like Gallo tried to put the Bramble onto Rel, but Rel already has 3 items, maybe not wanting that Radiant Banshee's Claw to be quite there. Draven still only has Draven 1. Diego did enough work in the back, maybe, though, to allow the time to go. The Ivern cast, oh, it doesn't quite come through.
We might get crueled.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Not like
this.
Oh,
no. Okay, doesn't matter. We didn't get crueled. We died anyway. And I would rather die that way than getting crueled, which the animation and stuff is much faster now, so you feel it sooner rather than later as we start itemizing this Fiddlesticks with the tank itemization. But once again, right, this lobby is not full of tier 2 5-star units. We're still actually getting to some of our comps. So if you're on the low end of the leaderboard right now, you are thankful, but you're probably not as thankful as Seek and Jose Paulo, who did on comps. They just happen to already have low HP at the time, right? So with Jose and these assassins that are going to be locked in with under-leveled comps, assassins become exponentially even better, as we are unable to get that 2-star Draven. That means if the Nocturne finds it, it's over.
Yeah, and so gonna be second rowing the Draven, which is nice, but oh man, it's gonna be getting hit by some Frozen Hearts here, and then potentially by the Vel'Koz when the cast comes through. Yellow Baby's sitting on 6 pairs.
Goodness.
Oh, the Draven's relatively protected. Gets some lifesteal, but it is not nearly enough for this round.
That's a yikes.
Yellow Baby taking a big hit, and I mean, again, Yellow had the HP to be able to take some of these hits, really just needs to hit the pairs that are on the bench right now, and there's a lot of them and not enough gold, right? Let's see. I mean, the Stimmy is going to help a little bit. Oh, man, it actually...
Just a little bit, Khroen?
That was nice. Draven 2 and a Volibear.
Still might not be enough. Again, a lot of people have already locked in this power, particularly Jose. And again, this comp is going to struggle against that assassin comp unless the Draven gets a nice little initial hit on the Nocturne as it jumps through. Looks like we're only one Nocturne away, potentially. Oh, no, we're actually a lot of Nocturnes away from Nocturne 3. And the Nocturne does hit the Draven, but gets pulled off by the Diana. And now we have a ton of CC. Is that going to be enough? It looks like it might be, as this Draven is starting to pull it out. And what we said needed to happen, happened, which was the Nocturne was the first unit that Draven did see, and they were able to take it down. And that's going to be a huge loss for Jose. We're going to be below 20 HP for sure.
Yeah. Oh, man, Zaruma actually goes out pretty early before Stage 5 Carousel. Jose at 14 HP, Rengar bot now at 12, Ever is on 16. These HPs are still so close there. Jose had 40 gold, had a Nico's help, and was 4 Nocturnes away. So with Nico's, of course, just needs to roll 3 Nocturnes in 40 gold. And we know Jose can do that. Just needs to decide to start pressing the D key and rolling it down.
Whew, man, that roll down is going to be so important. It's going to decide the lobby, in my opinion, as we are finally getting to the power levels that we're used to by 5-1. Pretty much, we have, I believe, our first tier 3 carry, which is a heavily nerfed tier 3 Riven. As did we skip a Nocturne just then?
I didn't think so.
I think we may have skipped a Nocturne. I'm going to go back. It doesn't matter.
Didn't catch it.
Oh, it doesn't matter because we've got one in the shop and we've got a Nico's. So we've got the tier 3. So yeah, now we're going to see the power level here. And depending on where we are, I believe we have the strongest lobby in front of us right now. Oh, nice little escape from the Akshan. But again, just so much damage, so much lifesteal. Now that we get a little bit of compensation damage with the Death Blade because of that ult, Rengar will suffer the loss and fall in 7th place. And in this lobby, I mean, this has been very close, almost pole to pole at this point in time, and still is. So 7th place might be a disappointing result for this first lobby, but if the rest go a lot like this, then there's going to be plenty of opportunities to make that up.
Definitely a lot of opportunities. That's the big one. And oh, this Shroud's going to be a big opportunity for Jose to maybe win another round, maybe take out yet another player. Because with these assassin compositions, the fights are so fast that it might just be like an 8-0 or a 7-0, and that's a lot of damage coming through. And people are already so low in HP, they could just be eliminated in the bot 4, allowing Jose to take a honestly pretty lackluster start to this game and still make a top 4 out of it.
Whew. Okay, this is starting to get pretty intense, especially against these ironclad and these kind of like armored up versions of these comps. So the Jax isn't going to start to get ramped up here for a while. Nice Diana ult in the backline. The Nocturne is starting to get ramped up, and you see it with your own eyes, friends. That's a lot of green on that field, as Seek going to lose in every single round at this point in time. Might be an elimination round, maybe multi-elimination round, as look at these HP totals. From top to bottom, only 14, but our top HP total is 16 as we get a death cap.
Death cap, not great. Maybe a little bit of fiddle damage, maybe a bit of Viego. Gyalu Baby actually goes out in 6th. Foam Gang hang out at 2 HP. We have a Riven 3 composition around. We have, of course, the Assassins. Have a Draven as well, I believe, but did just get beat by Jose's board. And then the Vel'Koz. This Vel'Koz 2 Heimer too, level 9. It's like, this is about as strong as you're gonna get, but actually sells the sells the Vel'Koz to put all the power in the Heimerdinger. Ah, man, it's tough because that might be good versus some comps, but then I think it's gonna be less good versus Assassins, depending on the positioning.
Well, you know, that's either gonna be the biggest brain move of the day, or it's gonna not matter at all. Right. So we'll see. This is, in my opinion, one of the stronger comps in the lobby. Gets an easy ult. I mean, positioning from Jose is something that you, like I said at the beginning of the game, you have to think about every single round. But with that Heimerdinger ult does go off, the Nocturne is starting to struggle a little bit. There is a health debuff on it right now, and it's only single target damage. It's stuck on the Abomination, and it looks like Jose is going to get stuck right here. This is probably an elimination as well. There it is. 4th place, Seek. in 5th place. Those, one or two units that you lost in round, 2-2, now coming back to bite you a little bit. And that rough early game from Jose, I think you can probably put a little bit of that into this 4th place.
It gets a 4th, though. Still super impressive. I mean, Jose, honestly, it was just a frozen heart, radiant frozen heart gap in that last round. Nocturne couldn't really do anything about it. It was just sitting there like, I want to swing these blades, but it's darn cold.
I'm so
too much.
chilly. I'm chilly.
Yeah.
I can't put my arms down. Wow, that's probably the earliest Christmas story reference I've made in my life. Anyway, we have the top 3 right now. It's going to be that Riven 3 who has had a massive nerf in terms of tier 3 damage possibilities. Oof. And someone else who had a nerf that doesn't really look like it so far is that Heimerdinger, that Jewel Gauntlet, ripping through the HP right now. Ooh.
Yeah, it might actually be a bit of a double kill here. Depends on how much this kill can pop off. These kill items are actually way too insane.
Oh my goodness.
Kale, is she back? She did get buffed, Boop. This might be Kale's time.
Sure. I'll see.
Judging by your reaction, maybe not. Maybe not.
I'll see it when I believe it. There are people who swear by the Kale being back, right? I would love for Kale to be back. I love playing Kale just in general. And something else I would love is to get out of the whole world where you put your items on Kale and get worse. During a lot of your team comps. So that was pretty gnarly. And Kale got a lot of earlier sustain because of the extra HP. And with the Fist of Fairness there, you're going to be able to have that sustain as well. We're going to position her in the middle. Zephyr on the Heimerdinger. Let's see how long it takes for this Kale to start ramping up. And look how quickly those auto attacks are already going. And the good news here is that even through that CC, Kale is starting to ascend. And you're already seeing her come back pretty strong right now. Fist of Fairness against the world with a little bit of help from our friend Lux. I think the Kale's got it. Kale might be back. Kale might be back, friends. Kyle coming in hot with the first lobby win since the buff so far for Kale. So Kale 1-0 so far today.
Kale back in the table. I mean, some great Kale items did hit Kale too. And I actually didn't think the fight was going to go that way, at least in that last round, because the Volibear actually got to cast before being bursted down, at least to that Revenant state. But it didn't matter for Kale. She got CC'd twice, got healing reduced, but the Fist of Fairness with everything else, with all of the Ironclad, not actually having that much of value, but just the front line enough that Kale could carry. Not quite the meta that we thought we would be seeing, but it's one that we're living in nonetheless. So let's take a look at those last game scores, just so we remember where everyone left off at. Daofu did win with the Kale board, Foam Gang with the Heimer in second, ever so much in third, Jose in fourth, and Seek, Gallo, Rengar bot, and Zeruma down the line. I'm still impressed, honestly, Boop, that Jose can make such scuffed assassin gameplay, or what I look to be, or what I feel like should be scuffed assassin gameplay, to then hit the Nocturne 3, to then scrape a top 4 out of nowhere. Like, Jose doing it again. Sure, it's not a first, but still a top 4. It feels impressive from a game like that.
Well, I want to remind everybody that there is a point where everyone from 2nd to 7th was within 9 HP of each other.
Yeah, it was a close
right?
lobby.
In this particular lobby, to scrape out that 4th with that newly kind of nerfed comp, is pretty awesome, especially since Jose and Seek were pretty close almost that entire time. And I'm curious if this extra point might be the difference a little bit later. But yeah, Daofu coming in with the Kale. And, as I think on what Kale is and what Kale could be, slower lobbies are always going to be better for Kale, right?
Yeah.
The power difference with Kale versus some other 5-cost comps, you're not going to see because the power level just wasn't quite there yet. And it was a lot of frontlining. It was like that Abomination, and Kale was able to rip right through that. Not without a problem. I don't know if Heimerdinger getting nerfed was the reason why that second ult didn't kill that Kale, but it didn't, and that's all that Kale needed, especially with that Fist of Fairness. That was a pretty cool choice for him, because after the Ascension, that's a lot of lifesteal.
Yeah, what were the Heimer nerfs? They were like the mana nerf, and a little bit of attack speed, I believe. So the frequency of the ults, of course, is going to be lower. Maybe Heimer could have squeezed out like a third ultimate, pre this patch, but Kale is still stronger this patch as well. So both of them kind of tipping the scales If it was last patch, I don't think that fight would have gone that way at all. But with the changes coming through again, it's a kill world. I mean, I want to see it happen again if we're to continue on this narrative, because one time it might just be a bit of a fluke. As you mentioned, it was a very slow lobby, and that's where Kale can thrive. Like, we looked at those comps in stage, what was it? It was like in stage 3 to 4 area, where we're like, okay, there's this Senna board that's full like, top of the lobby,
92
92
HP.
HP.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, something's a little bit up in this lobby. No one's really high rolling the early game. And either in those scenarios, it's like everyone's high rolling or no one's high rolling, but it was really no one high rolling, it looked like, at the end of things. And that's why a Karma, or excuse me, a Kale board would be able to, actually get to the point that it was. Maybe my brain's thinking Karma because I want to see someone try to do similar with Karma, but I haven't seen it yet.
The thing about Kale too is like you're gonna need some help from some other people to make that work too, right? It's gonna get blasted by a couple other comps, especially if like say Vel'Koz hits it early on before a couple of those ascensions, right? Because remember those ascensions can also screw you over too because you stop attacking, and the timing needs to work out, the CC needs to work out, the itemization. You have to do so much to make that Kale comp work. You almost need that time. You need that ability to just get there. But when that road opens and you're able to travel down it, it might be the road less traveled, but those views are probably amazing, right? And we got to see exactly what that could be in this first lobby. Let's see how consistent it is, because this entire patch so far is still brand new for a lot of people, and a lot of people thought of Kale when they first saw a lot of things, as we already have 10 gold now for Daofu, and we'll see if anything else is going to pop up outside of that Kale as well.
We shall see here soon. Daofu getting 10 gold, a nice opener on already having it in 1-3. Leona in the shop, not too many options that are appealing right now. We could be like, okay, maybe we can go with some sort of brawler opening. We did see a good brawler opening, maintain a lot of HP in the last game. But Knights could achieve a similar result with Leona and Nautilus there. Open up some paths, but it might be more the brawler route or the Draconic maybe to go AP, because there is a rod and a cloak here. We're going to get to pre-level. We got everything going here. 10 gold plus a pre-level plus a Draconic set. Sure, Draconic isn't going to be as powerful as it was, a few patches ago. And,
I know.
Yeah, it doesn't quite. says Boop, the player
MMR
still tries to force Draconic every game.
Thanks, Cardex.
Anyway,
the Cardex gave me the hope, and now it's been dashed. But now we're starting things off here. This is a really great start for Daofu. The pre-level means that we're not going to have to worry about we're going to be first to a couple of our levels just by pre-leveling, and we're going to have a little bit more flexibility on when to level a little bit later on. It's just you don't ever really do it until you have that 14 gold like we saw in that situation. As look at this, Jose is playing Nocturne, has it on round 1, and remember, folks,
and is winning.
When I said Nocturne 1, not good, except on round 2-1. Which is going to be one of the best times where a naked Nocturne like that's going to be able to do a lot of damage, especially with his friend Kha'Zix there.
Yeah, and a Gragas too for some fantastic frontline. I mean, Daofu is making gold as well. Both these players were on 10 gold. Daofu didn't slam any items. The board didn't have any synergies, literally 0 synergies. Wasn't great. But Jose now finds a pike, is still going to be able to maintain this 10 gold, and slams a locket. Jose was a player that was willing to, not shy away from these lockets, making use out of these items a lot for the aura, making the Nocturne a little bit tankier, even giving just a little bit more AP to whoever is carrying them, whether it be, like a Fiddlesticks or whatnot, which will actually have a bit of value later on. I'm liking Jose's start here, because it's not going to be, bleeding a ton of HP. He already has a glove and has 1 Nocturne at this point with the
and
gold.
Over 10 gold and might win streak, right? This is, when you think about best case scenario for an assassin player, this might be it. The next best case scenario would be to get 2 Nocturnes in the next pack. Knowing Jose, that might actually work, but you're already seeing just the deficit that this Nocturne has at tier 1, unable to even go through the Sentinel shielding. So this is going to be a loss here, which, Jose might have had a little bit of hope, but I mean, to win any rounds with a Nocturne 1 is nice. Round 2-1 is probably going to be one of the best chances you have, as we have a redeemed comp already online. It's going to be on the Varus, so that could potentially go back into Kale as well, as that was really, really close.
That was super, super close. Unfortunate for the Varus there. Wow, 3 Callistas in a shop. That would have been nice if we were going for another composition, maybe the Legionary reroll. But Jose, of course, loyal to the Nocturne only. Nothing will steer him away. Will consider making 20 gold or not. I mean, if Jose wins this round, can just sell the bench, but if not, maybe this Gragas should go. Maybe he's going to be okay with losing, you know, a lot of HP. And yeah.
There it is. We're going to go ahead and pivot. And this, I like this too. Yeah, they might only have 3 units in at level 4, but Kalista is just one of those units that is going to kill a unit. If you get that ult off, Kalista should be able to take 95% of tier 1 units down. And there it is. We're going to get at least 1 down there. That's probably going to be better than what would have happened with those 4 units earlier on. But also, I just got to say, I hope one day, you know, all of us can find partners as committed as Jose is to Nocturne.
that is
a relationship built on trust, right? And you know, all the power to them.
Honestly, I'm now thinking more into this for absolutely no reasoning, just based off of pure luck and the fact that Jose's commit to Nocturne, so Nocturne shows up in Jose's shops, right? Like, they're there for each other, and that's the most beautiful thing.
These TFT really just bringing the synergy of love together. But you know, that could actually be a synergy. The Heartseekers. Huh.
The Heartseekers. Hey,
maybe. That actually makes sense.
I'm
you
tweeting
do like
a whole
like
right now.
Yeah, I know, like a charm thing. That would totally work. Anyway,
there's the Heartseeker Vayne skin, right? Like, that's
yeah, there's a lot of Heartseekers, I believe. There's Heartseeker Varus as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Lucian.
Right.
You could do a whole like attack damage Heartseeker. Vi is another one. That's a synergy if I've ever seen one. Anyway. You got tanks, you got, you know, utility, you got damage. We'll see what happens. But right now, Foam Gang, who has 8 points coming into this particular match, running with the Udyr item carry in the front line, has the skirmisher buff right now. Doesn't look like they're going to be going draconic. This Udyr just having a little bit of a good time, getting a participation award, holding on to some of these items. So far looking good in a cape of fire, you know, bleeding sword. Everyone's afraid of that. And a little bit of a vest to just, you know, put a pin to the look altogether. You know, that's the cherry on top.
Yeah, not bad at all. Udyr being the item carrier with, you know, the tanky items and the DPS items. Bloodthirster going to be one of the best in slot DPS items that really finds its way onto, I mean, most of them, right? The Draven doesn't necessarily need it, but it's going to be fantastic for like the Aphelios and the Jax and things like that, which Foam Gang certainly has eyes on at this point. Already running skirmishers means this could end up being a Jax comp. Now, 6 skirmishers was buffed. You still don't need to run 6 skirms. I would say the 3 skirms with Jax and Knights and all of their kind of like flex synergies might still be better in some worlds, but you got to be considering it. Six skirmishers, I think.
6 skirmishers reminds me of some of our old synergies from back in the day, where it's a little bit of a bait sometimes to go to the 6 unless you get it really early, right? And you can just start building power a little earlier, which could actually happen here for Foam Gang. I mean, we're on a 3-game win streak, and we only need to sell 1 unit if we do win out on this next one. And with that itemization on Udyr, you're getting a good amount of everything. Bloodthirster is going to help tanks be tankier, right? Especially one like Udyr. So we're going to be ripping through that Thornmail, no problem. This is actually looking like a dub so far. This Udyr putting down work, doing the lawnmower stuff.
Yeah, gonna be not fully streaking throughout all of stage 2, but the last 4 rounds, which is almost as good. No one quite 100 HP. Do move to Krugs. Pair of Lulus for Zeruma in shop there, but not quite appealing enough. We do have a Riven with a Last Whisper. A Bramble as well. Just very standard items, right? Like, you're going to be comfortable with slamming this probably like 9 out of 10 games for most players. The question is, where do we go from here, right? There is some skirmishers on the bench. Jax can still utilize the Last Whisper decently. Wouldn't be surprised if that is the route. Does just depend on what Zerma gets out of some natural shops until we hit level 6. And the 4-1 roll down, which still does exist in a way, not so much as to like you need to hit on 4-1 or you lose, but it does generally still give a lot of direction to players. They're going to be committing to one route or another on that 4-1 roll down if they haven't already.
A lot of people have started to pick out their comps at 3-5, right?
Yeah.
3-5, 3-6, and maybe even after that, because again, it's just not as, like you said, stuck in stone. I think if you're learning, I would still say roll down at 4-1, right? But that's one of those things that's like, okay, now you know how to make vanilla. Let's see how we can add some, sprinkles and roll down at 3-5 instead, right? Or, when you're playing Draconic, you might rush a couple levels to see if you can access some of those units. So that might be the case, but here, even though it looks like we might be running a little bit of a weaker comp, that tier 2 Kha'Zix is going to get stuck on the tank, but we do have the Riven to help out. We have the Last Whisper. That's definitely going to be moving into an IE if that is possible. And then the last thing I kind of wanted to say is it's still a possibility here is Giant Slayers got buffed. 1600 HP is now the new line, as Riven actually going to lose out on that one. So maybe people going to be thinking about Giant Slayer a little bit more frequently if these Ironclads and Knights become super popular, but we'll see. It's always been that debate of Giant Slayer versus Last Whisper at the end of the day.
Definitely. They achieve a kind of similar goal in just taking out large units, right? Those tanky units. And it's going to be less feels bad, I suppose, to slam an earlier Giant Slayer, because it's just going to get value a lot, not a ton earlier, but a significant amount earlier than it used to be, of course. With that, I believe it went 1750 to like 1600 HP new threshold. So not bad. I'm not sure that players will be trying to aggressively slam it, though, because they just don't really know like how much more valuable it's going to be, given the fact that it's day 2 of the patch. But definitely would be curious to, if we do see one, kind of trying to analyze the value there.
Foam Gang, rocking a comp that's a little surprising to be at 96 HP and on fire until you remember that when you're going up against Nidalee, you can't hit her, but when you're playing the Nidalee, she can't dodge anything. So the Nidalee actually stealing a unit away. Foam Gang gonna lose that win streak and actually go from 1st to 6th in another pretty close lobby outside of Daofu, who is definitely in 8th place right now.
Oh yeah, 52. Jose at 62. I mean, we expect Jose to be down there, but everyone else is pretty much even in HP. Just 14 separating 1st and 6th. Daofu, though, coming off of a hot game number 1. Maybe it's okay, looks like it's gonna be some A-bomb action. Some AP.
Abominations still coming back. We got a little bit of a power increase in some of our later Abomination levels, I believe. We can double check that in a second. But the Abomination's still around. Arnie still likes working it out. And look at this. This is probably the worst rolling I've ever seen Jose go through so far. But we're still just going to hold on to
it.
Yet. So this is the thing, though, right? The same kind of situation happened to him last game, and I think it's probably the reason why we finished 4th, right? Is just we couldn't stop enough of the bleeding in the early game, and that seems to be ringing true here. As that's going to be a 4-unit loss, and we're going to be tied with Daofu now, who actually won that last round. So we can assume that we have some stabilization there. I wonder what Daofu is running down on the bottom of the leaderboard there, because you can make some assumptions based off of where people are on the leaderboard.
Yeah, I believe we saw Daofu pivot into a little bit of the A-bomb. I'm not sure what was run previously, but I think the pivot was at least starting to happen there. I believe Jose is in a little bit of a better spot than he was in last game. I think this was the round where he was on 40 and we saw the stimmy. It could have been one round later. No, it didn't come the same time as the radiant item.
Yeah, because
it wasn't this round.
It
he was at 40. Yeah,
stimmy, radiant, PVE, right?
Yeah,
all in a row, which I really like. And so at this point, I think you could actually make an argument that you want to be at 40 HP at this point in time.
Maybe he's in a worse spot.
Yeah, maybe he's in a worse spot.
No,
but no,
I don't think
no,
so.
No. That's just.
I think at the same time as the radiant. Yeah, it's fine.
Exactly, but now that we're kind of taking a gander, a little bit of same situation as last lobby. A lot of tier 1 units so far. Even our 3-cost units still haven't really been tier 2'd just yet, as you see Lux right now on the field just supporting these knights, which will probably turn into traditionally knights KL, knights jacks is what we might see, but new patch, you never know.
Dare I say Kale? Hodge,
It
a
looks
decent
like a
item.
Kale. It looks like a Kale comp,
Yeah,
but I
it
didn't
doesn't
want
have
to
to be.
commit just yet.
No, it definitely doesn't have to be. It could be a Philios from this route still as well. Hodge not the best, but hey, they are serviceable, I will hesitantly say. It is going to be enough to win this round versus Foam Gang, though. Varus early still is strong, especially being Varus 2. Takes out the Nidalee, and we get to see the Radiant items, Boop.
Okay.
I mean, Anti-Silence, never a bad option.
It's CC immunity for your whole team for
Yep.
one piece of CC, and that's enormous because the CC in this particular game, in this particular set, is really harsh, right? When you do get hit with that CC, it's pretty harsh. How many times have you seen someone get stunned, like a Jax 3, for example, get 5th place, like I saw at EU Finals not too long ago because of all the CC, right? So we're gonna go RFC, which makes me believe even more that we're potentially going into a Kale comp. Varus would hold the Kale items, right? But Varus also holds a Philios item. So we'll see what happens. But seeing that there's 4 knights, there's really not a lot of other assumptions you can make, honestly.
Definitely, that's kind of crazy.
Could be Jax, too.
I think. It could be Jax. I mean, if you think of RFC, maybe it's like Riven can hold it. There's Jax. There's Yasuo as well. And Yasuo is on the bench of Ever, so it could be a Yasuo pivot. Potentially. Could also be Kale. I mean, say in the random world where Ever goes 7, rolls it down to see like, okay, what am I hitting? And hits a Kale on 7, pretty sure that's just a Kale. Full Kale pivot there.
Okay,
but
Radiant Blessing.
Unlikely to happen.
Gold and a item component.
Yep.
So we also have the Zeeks here for Jose, the Radiant Zeeks, and we finally get that Nocturne too. We do see the roll down 55 gold, so I'm excited to see what happens at floor 1 because there's obviously a plan right now. But this little brigade of tier 1 units just graduated to some tier 2 units, and we finally might be able to pull out some W's here as we got some good items too. We have an assassin spat, so if we find a Fiddlesticks, you know exactly where that's going, which is already on there.
A fiddle.
Yep.
Just need to find a Diana. Would like to, of course, land on 6 assassins with that assassin emblem, but if we don't have the potential for it, I'm actually considering, like, what if Jose just makes an IE out of it? Just really wants that Nocturne power, right?
That was not a good roll down, actually.
No, it was not great. Definitely not a Jose roll down, doesn't seem like, but
still not. I mean, it was below average, I would say. We did get the 3 Nocturnes, but again, the wish is to, when you spend that much money, is to get the units that you want, and we're 2/3 of the way now. But is that enough power right now to get us to that last third of the way for the Nocturne? So far, so good right now, especially with the Assassin Fiddlesticks, which should be able to rip through a lot of this HP, but things are pretty close. Right now, Nidalee keeping things interesting as Jose actually takes the dub finally, and this is where you would expect Jose to start stabilizing, and the rest of the lobby needs to start responding.
Yeah, Daofu just keeps on taking hits down to 22 HP. Maybe not a great armory for Jose. Does take a cloak. Really wanted a glove for the IE on the Nocturne. Takes a cloak though. Maybe Runaan's will come through. Galio's just going to be a better Sentinel instead of Irelia. Reforge hits a Jeweled Gauntlet, which is decent for the Fiddle, actually. And we do get a glove. All right, things are shaping up. That Reforge is pretty clutch for Jose.
Yeah, Reforger can be, a game-winning item for some people in certain situations. So where's the Zeke going to end up landing? Having a hard time figuring out exactly who's going to hold it, but it's going to be the Galio, which is fine because if everyone's jumping into the backline anyway, just put your tank in the back line, right? So it's going to be the tanks, Galio, and the Rakan keeping everyone occupied for now, and actually takes care of the whole team for a while. And it's going to be up to now Akshan, and it might be too little too late.
The Nocturne has to walk all the way around because the unit pathing there. And so Akshan got another spin-off. I think that was actually a difference.
Yeah. For that Runaan's value, BT dubs.
Oh, man. It was a unfortunate loss. Hopefully, the carousel can bail him out, land on a bow, get a Runeans, get full build. Gyalu, it was Gyalu last game who took a, was it the Senna composition that was like 92 HP win streaking? Gyalu just makes these like one cost units, these unoptimal like board states, and really gets the most out of them, be it for positioning, just slamming items, probably all of the above. Like on Kled 2 for this long, 4-3 and still 56 HP is really good, to be honest.
Yeah, and looking at Seek's board right now, 83 HP at the top, we probably starting to lose out as we speak, but another moderately slow lobby, a little bit faster than last time because we do see some of our 5-cost units showing up finally. But this is going to be Nidalee versus Nidalee for a little bit, and the Bloodthirster is with the Kled is going to be the one that reigns supreme.
Yeah.
And
all right,
Kled, good unit, by the way. Always has been, and we're going to be seeing it in a little bit of the later game than we usually do.
Yeah, Gyalu, it feels like doesn't even need this to be an Aphelios. Kled's just doing enough work right now. I mean, didn't win the last couple of rounds before that. But that was a good matchup, taking out Seek, who was prioritizing just saving up gold as opposed to rolling down, trying to get stronger. Gyalu might choose now to level up to 8 and roll a little bit, as Nico's help on the bench.
What is this team called?
It's...
It is make and do with what, you know, this is called making lemons with lemonade, right? We get the tier 2 Diana now. So what is this team comp? One that's starting to get powered up. Look at that intention with that mouse movement too. You know me. And, that mouse movement. We might even Nico's the Teemo to get a Teemo too. And we're going to keep that Hellion buff, so Teemo might get a second opportunity with Khroen. And we also have the Aphelios and the Akshan, which is the best 2 Rangers for any type of Power Rangers comp. And it's now going to be where we're going to invest that power, Bloodthirster, everything going on to the Aphelios. And we're going to use that Akshan as just our last whisper for now. But once we get even more units, once we get some more items, that might not be the case. We might find some items on that Akshan. But unfortunately, the last time we saw this team comp, the Assassins lost, but it's going to be the Assassin win this time around.
Yeah, I believe Jose landed on the fiddle too. I think it was from Carousel. Otherwise, that glove wouldn't just be randomly on there. Jose is on 7 Nocturnes as well, so just needs 2 more. Okay, Daofu hits the Kale again. We're seeing the run back. Not nearly looking to be as successful as last game, but maybe this could be a tool to stabilize with. I mean, the front line's okay. We have a few Ironclad, have Rel 2, some Mystics as well. Curious.
We might have an unhealthy relationship with Kale right now.
I mean, it is a little bit.
It is a good. I mean, we do have a front line, and what does Kale need? Front line and time. Unfortunately, things like Aphelios and this Diana are gonna take a lot of that time away, as it's gonna be the magic of mushrooms on the board right now on both sides, as they're starting to come out to play. And look at where you know, in the back line, we only have 90 on the Deathblade, but look at where the Kale ends up being, which is completely safe by the end of the day. So not even getting the attack speed neutered is going to help out. That Kale at tier 1 with 200 or something more health is starting to look pretty good. Might be able to fit into even more comps than we might have thought previously.
Definitely not bad. I mean, hey, you pair Kale with things that protect her, all of these other synergies, be they Mystic, Knights, Ironclad, just front line, it's gonna be at least decent. Daofu has about 40 gold right now, but gonna be 50 next round at least to continue the roll down. Maybe hit some more pairs. There's a Jax in there that maybe will find its way in there if it's gonna be Jax too. Jeweled Gauntlet for the Teemo, or Deathcap, I suppose, because there is a floating rod on there.
You know, I wonder if we're ever going to replace. We're never going to replace the Lux, but it'd be very interesting to see a Syndra get pushed into this comp for like ultimate peel, right? Because you've also got
Yeah.
the Invoker buff with the Teemo too. So I'd be really curious to see people invest in Syndra, kind of like Azir Kale from last set, almost like exactly the same. So that's something that I'm definitely keeping my eye on. But I mean, when Lux works, it works, right? Why be fancy when you
Oh yeah,
like when vanilla is just as good, right? So let's see again.
definitely.
Is this front line going to be enough to keep that Kale alive, get that Kale some time? And after that first Aphelios ult, after not having a single Power Rangers comp last lobby, I believe we have 2 or 3. Right now, it's going to be up to that Aphelios to ult the Kale, try to get that one hit. But right now, Kale is starting to ramp, and that is bad news for everyone not named Dao Fu.
Kale's gotten to that state, and yeah, look at her go. The swords rain down from the sky and rain the blood of Seek's board there as it all falls. Another Ironclad emblem. I mean, already 4 Ironclad, it just means that we can drop, Jax and put another Mystic, maybe. I think Dalfu's thinking about that option. Redeemed, it'd be nice to go up to 6 redeemed, but it's not really that feasible. Okay, maybe gonna try to, though.
Yeah, I guess you get a little bit more, some stackable opportunities. Say Kale gets bursted down for some reason. Maybe one of the last redeemed, say, is this Fiddlesticks, right? You get one more ult off, and that's going to be enough. But those are all hypotheticals until we get to the round. As Dao starting to look like a really strong competitor right now, especially after hitting these units. And we don't even need all of them so far, as we're going to keep the Thresh on the bench.
Hitting the Galio, hitting the Jax were big, though. 4 Ironclads in the last 2 rounds were big. However, the Kale's not protected into Assassins here. She's going to go down very, very quickly.
And that's the thing. Jose is in the lobby, right? Like we don't we don't say that at the beginning of every game.
Factor.
Yeah, it's the assassin factor. You cannot get complacent when it comes to your positioning because you might have a beautiful team comp, but now this wonderful team comp is at risk of getting eliminated if we get rock paper scissors again. Because Kale has always, in the history of TFT, Kale's counter has always been assassins. So knowing that we have an assassin player, you've got to react.
Definitely do. A little bit complacent there. Took a 5-win streak, stabilizing on 22 HP. Now Daofu being at 7 on elimination point. Sure, won't run into Jose probably for a little bit. Still, any other mistake will be the last for this game at least. Let's move on over to Foam Gang, who running a bit of a Jax Knights comp. There are no skirmishers here, actually. It's just Jax being Jax. Maybe that's good enough.
Jax being Jax. Jax really knows himself. We could all learn a little bit from Jax. But yeah, with the Ruden's Hurricane, this is the Titans too with the Jax so strong. But if you can't attack, if you can't move, you're not that strong because you're doing no damage. That is the math there. As we do have a second Jax on Lion, and it's going to try to go up against the Kale, and this is where things can get a little interesting. And Dao Fu once again falls, and if that loss on the Assassins wasn't as harsh as it was, we might have been able to squeeze out a round or 2 from that Kale. But Kale doing Kale things a little bit more normally this time, falling in 7th place.
Yeah, that's the Kale we expect to see. Okay, players going in. The early game was not that great. Kale's the last kind of thing to try to bail you out, but it does for a few rounds, but then it really doesn't do enough at the end of the day. That was Jose there.
Yeah, Jose has the Nocturne 3, but Zaruma pushing the lobby right now. So this is either going to go to round 7 or Zaruma's going to win this in the next couple rounds, depending on the power levels for each board. Level 8 right now for Foam Gang, and we're going to start donkey rolling because we have to. We're at 7 HP, and you don't get to keep your money for next game. Is something that I think some people need to learn still. When it comes to TFT, we're going to start moving some stuff around, fitting the Viego in.
Udyr one for the Skirm buff. Nice. There were Nidalees here earlier, but Foam Gang sold them. It would have given Dawnbringer to Garen as well, but now we try to make all these pivots, and we don't get the Scout, so our Jax gets Zephyred there, then runs into the Diana, who has the Frozen Art on him. It's just so much going poorly. I mean, the Viego is in the back, though.
Ooh, Hurricane's a good item. Even though it got stuck on that Diana, we were still able to spread some damage out Viego in the back line. If you're not even gonna we took the Aphelios, but Viego's such a good unit, even just getting like a a poor man Zephyr in that
Yep.
situation definitely helped, especially against things like Ophelia. So even if we didn't get the full take on that, that would have been round winning just on the sole basis that we ulted the Ophelios at all.
100%. I mean, got 2 ults off as well. That Aphelios is just, it was just sad there in the corner.
In the spotlight.
Unfortunate. Yeah. Garen too now for Foam. Okay, doing good at scouting at least, trying to dodge these assassins. Front left the Jax. The positioning doesn't run into Jose though, does run into Zaruma, the other Jax player, who's win streaking, or was win streaking at least pretty hard, 61 HP.
This was the comp that we thought may have been Kale, ended up being Jax at the end of the day. Titan's Resolve on Jax, so good, but not good enough. It's going to be the IE Last Whisper instead, and the ramp up right now for Zaruma, just too much. And even though we're going to get caught up on the Galio, you know, it's just a little bit of a visit as the Jax is going to knock out Foam Gang, that Foam Party. Not that fun.
Not that much fun, unfortunately. Ever so much out in 6th, Foam out in 5th. We have our top 4. Jose is back in it. Assassins once again. But I believe for the last game, it was Foam, Ever, Jose, and Daofu that were in the top 4.
Oh, we got a
Only Jose
flip.
is back.
Yep, and that's a big deal for Jose, who has that extra point advantage over Seek right now. So if we just finish ahead of Seek, we'll maintain that position as we're going to start getting a couple more items. It's going to be Bloodthirster for Zaruma.
Hey, Kale. Hey, it gets picked up. We at least
it gets
get
picked up.
At least get to be graced with Kale on bench.
Yeah, Kale, you know, this is, you know, there was a rework not too long ago. This skin is really pretty. It's one of, I think it's one of like the prettiest like recolor skins. It's only like 200 something RP, I think. But I love the way it looks, and we'll see if it's going to make it onto the board. We're just holding onto it just in case. Again, to remind everybody that we're here, you know?
Yep.
And we might end up winning a lobby at some point in the future. Remember, Kale did win the last lobby, as it's going to be Jax 2 versus Nocturne 3, and that was not close.
No.
This RFC was absolutely brutal for everybody. But yeah, this Nocturne 3, so much damage.
Yeah, Jose does it again. Hits Nocturne 3. His earlier rolls weren't super kind, but still gets here. Still 16 HP, and honestly could win the lobby, right? Probably, definitely stronger than Zaruma, because that last round, looking at the other 2 comps, unless there's some phenomenal positioning, it looks like Jose is the favorite here. Maybe Zaruma could land on something like an Ukshan 2, do like a pretty big pivot. I wonder if Kale 2 is hit. Is that a serious consideration over like an Ukshan?
We have the Ukshan now is the difference versus the Kale maybe.
Yeah.
If we do roll into the Kale, oh, no.
No.
Oh, it was the same Kale. It was the same Kale.
Same Kale.
You never know. It was the same Kale. Just coming back, a little clingy, if you will. But I mean, things are going to be really hard against Jose, but we have seen the Ukshan beat the Nocturne, I think, most consistently versus a lot of these other comps. But we're going to have to wait for the Nocturne comp here in just a second, as we do have an elimination matchup for Galio Baby. If we lose here, it is going to be another top 4, but where we finish might be not as exciting as last time around. As Seek did fall, minus 8 HP. This is looking like a bigger loss so far. So this should be a 4th place for Galio. Seek with minus 8 HP gets 3rd. It's Assassins versus Knights.
Assassins versus Knights. Ukshan is on the board, but not really doing much more than armor reduction. Jax already has the Last Whisper with him. Poppy's still in here for some reason. Could just be a Garen instead. Both might end up just falling to the Nocturne immediately, so not going to be too differential. Really wants to fit more Ironclads on here, so the Rel makes her way onto the board. Maybe a random Viego over this Garen's going to do a bit more. Probably would. At least the potential is there. We'll see how it ends up, though. Zephyr's not going to connect on anything besides a Pike.
Ooh, this Akshan, nice positioning in the front line. This is why you have to do it. You're seeing it with your own eyes right now. But if we swung the other way, we take down the Nocturne, but the Nocturne is going to survive, not going to proc the Revenant buff just yet. And we finally do. This Akshan might be the answer to Jose Paulo's Assassins, and there we go. We're going to get one more round, one more carousel, but we see an answer here for these Assassins. And Zaruma, who got 8th last game, might be able to do the complete run back and be the bread of the sandwich, right? 1st and 8th.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's looking like it could be a reality. Definitely wanted to upgrade the Viego. It does get stolen by Jose, however, and Jose lands on Volibear too. That is a big upgrade. I believe Jax was 5th in damage on Zaruma's comp that last time. It was beat out by Diana, who was 1st, and then Akshan, Viego, and Lee Sin, I believe, were all the units that were above Jax. Interestingly enough.
Yeah, Diana is going to get Frozen Heart nerfed. That's it. I think like Frozen Heart on Diana and Fiddlesticks is just so strong, but we are going to position once more. Nice Zephyr. It's going to go onto the Diana, so that displacement in the back line not going to be there. And beautiful positioning for this Nocturne, who has already taken the Jax down.
Diana's going to fall, though, this time very early on and allow the rest of Jose's composition to not have to deal with the Frozen Heart. Akshan's not going to be able to spin his way to victory this time around. Does have a lot of HP to work with, so Zaruma won't fall quite yet. Does drop to 23.
Oh, hasn't gotten the
some gold.
Yeah, some gold to buy some 5-cost units, and I guess do something with it eventually.
Another Rel, a pair of Volies, but
nothing to actually make us better so far.
Yeah. I say, is there any consideration to try to put these Revenants in? Maybe the Ivern or Volibear CC will be good enough. Viego pair. Roll once more to hit something, but
yeah, not worth it. Especially since if we lose, we probably do make it into another round. Exactly. But where does the Nocturne go? Gets actually a little stopped up. Some CC there. Ooh, but the Jax does find us. But now it's going to be all up to the Akshan to keep everyone at bay. The Nocturne is starting to claw through the way, but it's going to be the Lee Sin that's going to be the issue right now. Has the Lee Sin done enough to keep this Nocturne away?
Oh,
the question's actually going to be Diana. Things are going to be pretty close here. One more spin to win. Oh my goodness, it's going to be the Nocturne. That was almost a win for Zaruma, but we're going to have to go one more time. Round 7-1 is going to be where this ends.
Oh man, RFC diff, actually. If the RFC didn't give the range to Nocturne, it wouldn't have gotten the auto on Akshan in time, and Akshan would have actually won the fight. That was the closest fight that we're going to see occur out of these two compositions.
Right, and that's how coin flippy I feel like it is. We've seen, not super coin flippy, I feel like it's a little bit more advantageous for the Assassins, but if you get that Akshan, right, in the right position, and the Jax doesn't die immediately like it has the last couple times, you might get lucky, right? Because Assassins are in terms of when you press play, I think the most volatile of all the comps when it comes to what to expect. But now we're going to be moving a little bit more power into Diana here. But again, watch where that Nocturne jumps. That's going to decide this game.
The fights where Jose wins decisively, the Nocturne jumps into the Jax, takes him out immediately. If Zaruma can protect the Jax a bit better, and depending on where Fiddle is going to ult, and where the Shroud's going to be, okay, Jose with that micro to switch sides was actually gonna get... Oh, the Pike eats the Zephyr. That was a close one.
Okay, here it is. This is going to be the last fight of the lobby. It's Nocturne versus Akshan. Really, Akshan does not get everything that they need. Close. Not even close. A little anticlimactic, but a nice 1v1 to end. Jose is going to win the lobby with 2 HP. Classic Jose.
Jose has done it yet again. Takes the Assassins, positions well every single round, even doesn't land on best in slot items, but hits when he needs to. Manages to get it into a first. Jose, the only player to get top 4 both games, and does it as kind of, decisively as did that game to get first. We're going to have the scores in a little bit here, but Jose's definitely well ahead of all the rest right now.
Yeah, Jose's playstyle is start game, right? Leave, come back for carousels for items, right? And then at 4, around 3-5 to 4-2, you're going to hit Nocturne 3 and lead fight night. after that, as Nocturne only still seems to be the way to lead Fight Night for a lot of weeks so far.
Yep, and here we go. Scores are on the line. Jose at 16 points. Daofu and Foam Game with 12. Seek with 11. Ever with 10. Yellow BB and Zerma with 9. So all those players are definitely still well within reach. The only real unfortunate circumstance here is for Rengar Bot, who has finished 7th and 8th. Only 3 points so far. They still can contest for the top 4 and top 3 to get into the money and perhaps come back next week. A need to hit some real fortunate games 3 and 4.
It could happen. We've seen it happen before, not with 2 bottom, sevens, but we've seen the 1 point lead to a lobby win. But you've got to figure out Jose, right? It's like he's telling you which cards he's playing with, right? And no one is doing anything about it. Because the hard part is if you try to contest assassins, Jose probably plays better than you. So you're probably going to get 8th anyway, right? Yeah. And then just give Jose all your units after you fall and get another 2 HP lobby win. So as the players figure out how to deal with this assassin player, Khroen, I'm really looking forward to see what the results are going to be, because this is going to be Jose's lobby if things don't change.
Yeah, it's looking to be, and I think like when we take into question like how is the meta shifted to in terms of countering that, it's not much. Like these compositions that are popping in the meta, like maybe even like Dravens along with the Aphelioses and stuff, the Nocturnes are still kind of just like farming a lot of the time. It just comes down to if Jose can hit, because if he keeps playing this same similar game, kind of runs it down early to get gold and stuff and rolls down level 7. He's just playing. It's like he's playing solitaire almost, right? Like, and it's just if he lands on the correct things, he's just gonna win the game. It seems like, at least get top 4. Maybe not always win. It comes into what other players land on, and if they low roll or high roll. But I mean, hey, at least we got to see one game of Kale dominate. Maybe we'll see a couple of more. But until then, we will have to go on a short break. But don't go anywhere. In just a few minutes, we'll be right back with more Fight Night Rising brought to you by Wisdom. We have brought you 2 games and 2 left to go. There's been quite an interesting, I don't want to say development when it comes to the Fight Night dynamic, because Jose is doing more of the same, right?
Right.
He's solidified himself as one of the best Fight Night competitors. I believe this is the 7th week that he's returning, so he's putting himself up there with some of the greats, like New Mono and Gunmei. Sphinx rings a bell to be put onto that list as well. The people that return time and time again and show why they're doing so well, right? And it just seems to be Jose and Nocturne only giving him kind of his reputation nowadays.
They are in a fully committed relationship, Nocturne and
Yes.
Jose. At this point, if like Jose talks to another unit, Nocturne might feel really upset about that. To be completely honest with you, but this is the thing, right? You talk about Gunmei, you talk about Sphinx, right? Gunmei and Sphinx were hyper flexible players, and that's how they got there, right? Jose is coming into this battle telling everyone what he's going to do, right? So that's a little bit different, right? Because all of the names, because New Mono, I would say those 3 players are some of the most flexible.
Oh yeah,
we've had at
Numano's
Fight
flexibility was actually insane the first time we were casting him. It was kind of like mind-blowing, honestly.
Yeah, it could go from any comp to any comp and was so good at that. But this is a very different kind of player versus the ones that have found that success, because I think back in the day, the fact that they were so flexible, the fact that they could play so many things, put them in very good top 4 potential when it comes to a lot of these games. However, in this particular meta, that Nocturne is almost guaranteed a top 4, maybe even a top 2 once we hit that tier 3, even with that little bit of a nerf that we saw. It does seem there's a little bit more counterplay involved, like with Sean, that we haven't seen in the past, but it does seem like in this lobby with these players, Jose once again leading the pack with his Boo Nocturne.
Maybe it's still just a reroll world we're living in, and players haven't quite caught on to that yet because of the fact that so many of the reroll compositions that feature other 3-cost units did get nerfed, right? Returning our attention to the Riven, the Nidalee, the Yasuo, and things like that. Nocturne seems to be the one that has the most kind of, I suppose, like staying power right now. And I don't believe we've seen an Aatrox Kalista reroll yet, but I think that would have something to say about perhaps this, Nocturne dominance. If not that, it needs to be a very capped endgame board, not only with a fully itemized, tier 2 carry, but the frontline to support it too. There's just so many things that need to happen for that, as opposed to just, as I kind of mentioned with Jose, just playing solitaire and hitting that one unit.
Well, I think one of the biggest detriments to Nocturne is going to be the game not providing you with Fiddlesticks or Volibear in time, because without that Revenant buff, you're going to take a lot of HP away from that Nocturne player. It really is that Revenant buff, because how many times has Nocturne died on the 3rd auto attack, gets rezzed, gets the swipe off, and is full again, right? That's what you're avoiding. So you are going to hope with the Mort God that the Fiddlesticks comes a little bit late, but as at the same time, we have seen CC lock up this Nocturne, but no one doing the damage to follow it up just yet on these team comps. So that's going to be the next solution. But yeah, Nocturne has got to be on everyone's minds. If people are still playing, I'm going to play my game and deal with the Nocturne later, you can do that. It's just you already have the context, because if you just go to his stream, it says he's going to do it.
Yeah, we already know what's going on there, but we don't know what all the other players are going to land on. Sure, there's some trends, but nothing is quite set in stone as that. Zaruma does have 2 bows and Nico's help, and is considering Nico Sing the Misfortune. If there were other items, maybe some AP items, even one AP item here, definitely would be more of an argument for it. However, that's not the case, so Misfortune will stay a pair, and this board will stay itemless.
What do you think that the units think when they see the pairs next to them themselves? Do you think they have like some ego loss or something? Because I think about that stuff all the time. Is like if people in games reacted appropriately to things that they saw, right? Like all of a sudden there's this big old pig next to me, and I'm just chilling. I'm just chilling out next to the Sejuani.
I actually imagine that the units look at it as like a positive thing, like, oh, there's one more of me, just need one more and I'll become that much more powerful. Like they're this like, is this just look towards the future, like I want more of these. Yes.
There's probably some type of religion based off of the number 3 in this world, right? That they all have to think about. But anyway, back to what is at hand in front of our eyes, we bring in the Yasuo. One of, we do have the RFC, so that could go on a couple other people. And again, what's exciting about Kale not being an actual joke, uh, of a unit is in this situation. Now we can say, oh, this could potentially go to Kale eventually, or anyone else that uses the RFC. But to add a detail into the box makes actually the entire game have a little bit more depth, as everyone has to make one more decision to come to a conclusion.
Yeah. Definitely. So, I mean, Nico's helping on the bench, I think, is also going to be kind of leaning us towards more of a maybe actually seriously considering that Kale route. Maybe Yasuo can get us there. It's still a long way, though, and Zaruma is going to be losing out the, couple of rounds. Jose, of course, I mean, down at 84 HP already. Might even drop below 80 before stage 2 carousel. That is common if you lose the rounds like 4-0, 4-0, 4-0.
Yeah,
that does happen. Gallo Baby trying to not let that happen, though. In fact, trying to do the opposite and get on a bit of a win streak. And I believe Gallo might actually double level just to put this Gragas in. I don't think, yes, I'm not going to give any synergies, but just having a Gragas 2 on the board, I love this when it comes to protecting that win streak.
Yeah, leading the sprint right now. Like, say, there's that big group of bikers during the Tour de France. Gallo Baby right now is leading the pack in the front. By the way that we're playing right now. And so we have an extra unit, and that extra unit means that we're going to continue our win streak. Maybe we didn't feel super confident about it, which this is actually bad news right now. Oh, that could have been a lot worse with a misfortune ult as the Pike gets stuck. But with 100 HP, the only one who is going to be win streaking through, we've got that extra gold. But that's why you see winners have less gold at this point in the game, because you're still sprinting out in front of the pack, and you have to maintain that until you can't anymore. And you're going to have to start losing HP to start getting powerful again, because you cannot maintain this type of investment forever unless you're playing Draconic and are getting really lucky.
Yeah, I mean, they will make it back up naturally, just, +3 gold win streaking if you make it to a 5 streak or higher. Gallo's started looking for that at least throughout all of stage 2. The Sunfire Slam, although it has been nerfed recently, it's still a good item. Have the Nidalee now to give Dawnbringer as well as keep the Skirmisher online. Probably will even slam an IE to try to continue that streak as well. It's not... I guess that's a bit less confirmed, I would say. The IE doesn't have to be a thing right now, but I would like it to be, I think.
Yeah, and the other thing that winning does is it causes you to play less flexibly, right? So you're going to be slamming items a lot earlier on. You're going to be much more proactive about your choices, which inevitably means that people are going to be able to react and be reactive to your choices. You just have to make sure that the choices that you're creating are going to bring you the investment back by the end of the day. And with these item slams, especially with this nice little roll on the Nidalee, we might be able to continue our win streak here. But we're at risk. Daofu might actually kind of ruin this right now, and that's not what we wanted to see from if you're Galio Baby. Titan's Resolve Olaf is going to be the big reason there.
Yeah, Titan's Resolve Olaf, so tanky, still provides a lot of damage. Galio slammed the Thieves' Gloves and lost. That is big tilting in that situation, to be honest. Now you take all of that power, and it's not there anymore. With having the gloves to be flexible, I think the sword is just going to likely be, a Death Blade plus a BT if they find another one. Gloves not really so much into that equation, and can't make them into a Last Whisper now as well. So, I mean,
yep. Definitely stepped in some gum right on the way. Unfortunately, you can still make it happen, but the less momentum you have on either side, whether it be a loss streak or win streak, the harder it can be, as we already have the Last Whisper Infinity Edge on the Nocturne. But thank goodness for the rest of the lobby, it is only Nocturne 1, because the last thing you want to see is Jose win streaking into one of these carousels, because he already has everything he needs.
Yeah, that would be scary. Jose actually full win streaking. Maybe it's like a Nocturne 2 at this point in the game. That would be a play for second kind of game, to be honest. But fortunately, not quite that devastating. The items are still very good. The only thing that's maybe a little bit scary for Jose in that position is that the Radiant item could just very much brick. Like if you hit another IE or a Radiant IE or Last Whisper, and not like the Runelands or anything like that, it's a bit feels bad. Sure, you can make some use out of others for a Fiddlesticks, perhaps. Maybe a Diana, like a Frozen Heart, could have some value. It is a bit riskier, though. We didn't have Radiant item on the Nocturne last game, and it was still a win, so it's not completely doomed.
Not completely doomed, right? But that is a turn of phrase that is inherently optimistic, in the way that you look at it, right? Because not completely doomed, but glasses half empty too might be a little doomed as well, depending on how the rest of the game goes, right?
If it doesn't hit,
if it doesn't hit, if it hits is like the is TFT,
basically,
right? But I think what is most important to really realize about situations like this is you might think that this is an RNG game, but you have a lot of control on how the game reacts to you as well. That's why you pick up units at the end of rounds sometimes, right? So we might need the game to give us a little bit of help, but also we can prepare ourselves to be ready for when that opportunity comes, right? Opportunity meets preparation can be a huge thing in TFT, right? Because how many times have we seen the carry unit not get hit for so long, and then all of a sudden it gets there, right? And everything turns around. Remember, Jose won that last lobby with 2 HP, right?
Yep.
As long as you're alive, you've got a chance.
Definitely so. Ever winning this round against Zaruma. The early skirmisher still having a lot of value. And it was against a Riven with a couple of good items. Had RFC plus BT. Now those items, I mean, maybe you start to think about Riven 3 reroll. See how good it performs. Even after being nerfed pretty heavily. Rengar bot only has 3 points so far. With a start like this, with the Tristana 2, maybe you can think about getting into the top 3. Still rolling a lot of gold very aggressively here. I guess can sell back up to 20, but would be taking away some pairs. Trist 2, still decent at this point in the game. Has 4 knights, has a bramble. Not terrible. In fact, pretty decent start.
Okay, I mean, we've got some rats on the field for the first time today. That is, I mean, it got hotfix nerfed the last time that we saw it. So that is, again, when anything gets hotfix nerfed, you might as well just have a funeral. For in my experience with this game, but the funeral must wait a little longer as we are going to actually take the dub there. Something I also want to point out is Seek at the top has done this. I think the last 2 lobbies too, has meddled around like 3rd, 4th, 5th place. But if we're able to sneak into the top 4 every single round, that's a really great way to get invited back. Sometimes winning the lobby or going after that win is actually a little bit of self-sabotage, as that 1st or 8th inherently could also mean 8th place. And if you're going for that win and you brick, you might take yourself out of contention.
Yeah, that is true, potentially. Always back to that risky conversation. What style of TFT do I play? Is it that consistent route? Is it just that top 4? Or the 1st or 8th?
It's an 8th. All right, ever so much now going to be on the other side. Rengar's opponent. And, Rengar's a cat playing with these rats right now. I don't know what the type of longevity for that is going to be in terms of workplace environment, but it looks pretty good so far. Misfortune had a beautiful ult, and Tristana is going to clean this up. Yasuo 2 might have had a little bit of a different thing to say, but this comp is going to be working out for now, but this comp's nerfs really won't be felt until a little later on.
Yeah, and a little later on is when we're going to be pivoting out of this, right? Rengar bot did spend a decent amount of gold to try to get to this point of stabilization, but now maybe with a solid pick off of a carousel here, nothing going to be too standout. Maybe just a bow for a Rage Blade. Something along those lines. Or I guess there's a couple of components. That bow gets taken, but another bow here. All right, not bad. Still landing on one of them. There was 3 bows in that carousel, and Rengar bot very nearly didn't get one of them. Second pick.
Throwing bows for the bows, right? Unfortunately. Well, fortunately for Rengar bot, there were 3 on the carousel. But what are we going to invest it in? We've got the Rage Blade potential. We're moving over to Jose,
Stimmy,
who does find the fiddle. We get the Stimmy the same time we did in the first round. The last time this happened, we got 4th place. Top 4, though, from this spot could be pretty nice for them. And it does seem like this Radiant item absolutely needs to hit on this Nocturne. This might be one of those make or break moments now for this comp, because that is the only Nocturne so far.
Especially the Stimmy giving Thieves Gloves and not like a lot of gold that Jose can use to roll with. It means this rating item is, it needs to hit. Probably on a Nocturne item. Couldn't really see what else would be great other than that. Maybe a Rascal's Gloves, maybe a Radiant Frozen Heart. If we land on a Diana soon, this round might be good. The Nocturne is in a good spot. So is the Kha'Zix. You're taking out some of these carries from Zaruma. So it is going to be a round win. 4-loss streak has been ended.
Thank goodness for Jose. And it's actually really interesting. I don't know if you remember this from a couple weeks ago, but between like 35 and 45 HP is almost exactly when Jose stabilizes every single time. Yep. We're gonna
not great, but
not awful. Could have been
not
a lot
awful.
worse. At least we're gonna get some utility out of it, as we're gonna keep. We won that last round, so there's no reason to start investing right now until 4-1 possibly. We're just gonna get more and more gold. We're hanging over 50 right now, so we're actually okay with this. Ooh, those secondary items are not fun though.
No, I mean the glove could be something useful if we land on, I don't know, like a chain. It could be a decent shroud. You could of course use this bow for Runans for the Nocturne, things like that. Maybe even RFC. RFC was utilized last game by Jose. That's what he won with. So they do have some kind of options. Another Riven actually. This time it has a Radiant BT for Ever's board.
A lot of tier 1 units still, though, as the Riven might be able to 1v4 the world. It will. Remember, this part of Riven has not, I don't believe, got touched at all at tier 1. But tier 3 got a huge damage nerf, I believe, after that ult. So that's a pretty interesting loss, especially since that last Riven looked like it was pretty strong too. But this one at tier 1 going to be doing a little bit better. We have 49 gold right now on Wolves, and last time we saw Jose at this point in time, I believe they had 77 gold to roll down, and we're definitely not going to have that much, but we'll come close.
No, I mean, we'll see if there's any gold coming out from these Wolves as well. Did Jose level to 7 this round? Because
looks like it.
Yeah, because then he spent 4 extra gold. Actually, there's 4 out of 56. Unlucky, BG. But here the roll downs come, and there's a Nocturne. There's an Ivern. How many Nocturnes does he find, though? That's the question.
Yeah, at least tier 1. That's a huge pickup, actually. The Ivern 2. That's the tank of this comp right now, especially since Fiddle doesn't have those traits just yet. We get the Diana in. We've seen how important Diana is to enable the Nocturne, especially to access the back line. Great Thief's Gloves holder, but this was probably the worst roll down we've seen Jose have so far. But the last time this happened, we left his view, and then everything hit right after that. So tier 2 Nocturne against this comp might actually be okay. Looking good so far. Those Olaf items will be going on to Ajax potentially. Not really going to be holding on strong for now, as this makes sense. Our top couple comps are going to start to struggle. Seat, though, at 94 HP, only the 1 loss so far in the game.
Okay, I usually would say this, and it would be a meme, Boop, but Daofu with those Olaf items, they very well may reasonably just be trying to play Kale. I mean, they played Kale 2 out of 2 games. Once is, I would usually say, Kale, haha,
it's
very
just
funny.
It's funny because, like, I know you're serious, and I think that's the funny part, right? Is like you're not meaning, like, it's like put the just siren on, right?
Just because of Daofu's trends, right? If it didn't happen 2 games in a row, I'd be like, okay, it probably is not going to be, right? But I mean, 2 games is a trend, right? Like, Daofu is in a decent spot, has good HP, can level to 8. If we land on a Kale, like, it's that is where it's going to be. It has to. There's the Radiant RFC. Like, it's time. It's time to really see. Thank you, Daofu, because this is an experiment that I've wanted to see happen, especially with the Kale changes in this patch.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why we're still saying Kale with all those items on the Draven, what it does is does give a little bit of flexibility to move into Forgotten potentially, right? Say we kind of accidentally get a Draven too, which happens sometimes. We're going to be able to use it and stabilize at 75 HP, which at this point in the game is very, very nice for a player like Dao Fu. And it's very interesting now, the popularity of Titans on offensive units.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It allows a decent amount of damage to come through as well as just those tanky stats. I mean, it's a solid kind of, I guess I'll say, tech choice that players have landed on and discovered. Allowed Draven to do a decent amount there. I mean, Draven doesn't have any true quote unquote damage items, but still hanging away with that Rage Blade attack speed.
Yeah, death
Did
by
enough.
1,000 paper cuts on that version
Exactly.
of Draven. You know, you're alive, then you're in the round, right? When it comes to Draven, but the unfortunate thing is this Draven comp, right? And same thing with Kale is really, you know, once you get it locked in, it's going to be much better against the lobby of 8 than it is going to be against Jose.
Oh yeah.
Right, both of those units again will struggle with assassins. Seek might actually have one of the better counters to the Nocturne, as we do have another Titan's Resolve on another offensive unit here. People seeing it on Jax, I think, in that Jax Knights comp was kind of the first time I think a lot of people saw the Titans, but it does seem like basically any auto attack damage carry can use it at this point.
Yeah, even having the Radiant version of it, actually, the Titan's Vow on that Akshan. That's an Akshan in level 7 for Seek. With 80 HP, oh man, that's fantastic. Able to go safely to level 8, maybe even 9 from a board like that before being, having to spend all that gold getting Akshan 2 that way. We'll see. It is still hard to go 9, especially when there are, players like Jose and others that will be spiking very hard. Once we get to the end of stage 4 and into the beginning of stage 5, potential is there, however. Daofu lost last round at 68 now. No components available. Wanted the tier. Can't get it. GG.
We're going to have to deal with the sword instead.
Yep,
As we
not
move
bad.
over to Zaruma, I believe that was a Radiant Blessing going down that direction. So we already know that's the Thief's
TG.
Gloves. The Nikos is going to make things interesting for this particular board, as we are already getting set up for this Jax comp, but we only have the one Jax so far. Ooh, nice. Oh, we 1%ed a 5-cost unit with the Nikos. I always pause and then make the wrong choice at that moment in time, but this is the right choice, as Zaruma going to roll past it, try to make what is on board a little bit better. But this Jax, paper thin right now, needs to, it's bulking season, and Jax needs to take part. Looking okay so far.
Yeah, especially because of that Radiant Zephyr onto the Nocturne. Nocturne was not able to do a lot, at least at the start of the fight. Now is his time to show up and turn up. But Jack's already ramped up this whole time too, and it might be enough.
Oh, man. Oh, no.
Not quite.
Oh, no. Didn't even get the Revenant proc, I believe. So Nocturne, slowest attacking Nocturne you'll ever see in your life. Base attack speed, gonna take the dub again, right? Because it woke up, units were surrounding it, and that last swipe was able to give it enough energy to keep it going. I mean, at this point, right, just like how people steal 5-cost units, it might be okay if you're already rolling just to pick up the Nocturnes and just try to block Jose, who's on fire again.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to the conversation of, is it worth it, kind of sacrificing my own econ so that I can, be sure to grief Jose a little bit. But if you're in Zaruma's spot and you're already trying to dodge 8th yourself, maybe you can't really afford to do so. Seek did go to 8 before Raptors. Still the Akshan with some fantastic items.
This is the best looking Akshan Aphelios comp that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
It's locked in at the right time, which has been the issue for some of these so far. It's been a little slow, and even though it looks like it's struggling right now, and it might actually could potentially lose out on this round.
Like a dub.
Once we hit that tier 2, right, as we do pull it out, think about the extra power that's going to appear, right? We finally have it locked in before round 5-1 for the first time today. I'm really excited to see where that's going to go. But yeah, this Mistral is going to need to land perfectly in order for this comp to get a dub, or we just got to find that Jax, please. That's what we're looking for Zaruma, is
just needed
Literally a
one.
Jax.
Yeah. And that's the big thing too, right? They only needed one to then Nico's and hit the Jax too, but they've already rolled so much on 7. Now we're at that awkward, like, I can go 8, but then I won't have any gold to roll down with, or I can keep rolling at 7, and if I don't hit on 7, I'm just stuck here, and it's going to be in 8th place, right? Even if you hit,
There
oh,
it
okay.
is. Thank
There it is.
goodness.
That's so big. Oh, wow. Even still rolling, actually. Okay. I guess hit the Galio, said that, okay, now is enough. Gonna level up next turn. As an Archangels, I guess you can Archangels a Galio. Maybe some
Yeah,
more
well,
mana.
I
Thresh.
mean, something. Any extra damage is going to be nice
Thresh or Galio. Looks like it's Thresh.
because everything is invested in the Jax. You know how they say, "Let it all ride." You know, if you watch that Futurama episode with Zoidberg, who consistently bets everything, this is like letting it all ride right now on the Jax. Jax gets stopped up, it's over. Jax gets to ramp up, it's over for them. Right now, ever so much suffering with it, but this Riven has been a little bit of an issue in the past. Already, the Dawnbringer proc has opened up, and nothing to it.
Yeah. Ever is 2 Rivens away from Riven 3. Has at least 20 gold as well, and gets to hit the Radiant Blessing, it looks like, as Ever did drop to 38 HP. There is a 5-2 Armory as well. Redeemed, Dawnbringer, Nightbringer, all not great. I mean, Nightbringer can get some use with the Lee Sin, so that might be Zaruma's pick here. I mean, I guess Dawnbringer technically can as well with the Nidalee. But it will be the Nightbringer that is the selection. Now we get to level up, put the Rel in, give her a bit of a shield and HP, of course. The Nightbringer emblem does give plus 150 HP. Not bad. Oh, Jose is 1 Nocturne away.
It's on fire, though.
Yeah.
Right? So even though we're a little bit vulnerable, we're still on fire, and the vulnerability hasn't really been taken advantage of. And would you like to describe for our friends at home why stacking Trap Claws is totally fine?
Yeah, because that's going to block 2 spells now for at least the Nocturne, Ivern, and whoever else is on the side of the Ivern.
Oh!
1 spell for everybody, and wow, that is going to be a big, big Diana ultimate. Aphelios is not going to be able to do anything about that one. Gallo, baby. Feels bad, but that's the difference of the positioning of the Assassins comp, Boop. We stress it so much. The Assassins that Jose brings to the table present such a different dynamic to that of what you're probably used to usually on ladder, because you probably don't run into Assassins every ladder game, right? But Jose, you know you're going to get it. You know you have to scout it. If Jose is in one of your next potential 3 matchups, you have to always be scouting for it. And not only that, Jose hits now Nocturne 3.
Yeah, that advantage that the rest of the lobby could have had is now absolutely deleted. Jose should be able to top 4 with this, no problem. If you're already, on fire with Nocturne 2, you're good to go. But I think what we also need to notice and give props to is the fact that Diana might actually be the real MVP in this situation with those ultimates. The enabling after that ult, especially with the frozen, if you're able to get a frozen heart on it, her too, is just too much to overcome for a lot of these units. And now that we're on tier 3, it's only 3 max, swipes for most of the units on the board. It's going to be tough. It's going to really need to be these Akshan and Aphelios comps that do seem to be doing the best against these assassins. And that's actually ringing true right now as it gets stopped up. Runin's Hurricane, tier 1 Akshan takes down the Nocturne, and Nocturne 3 is actually going to be a little bit of a curse, as this Akshan should be A-okay. Might have been the ZZ Rod at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it was a Nautilus. Nautilus had the ZZ Rod, Bramble, and Frozen Heart. 3 items that are perfect with dealing with the Nocturne. And Nautilus got the ult off to CC the Nocturne even further. That, along with the fact of Akshan pumping out damage the entire time. And even that just kind of barely took out the Nocturne, right? It was still kind of close. Nautilus ended up falling. That's how powerful it is, but it was enough. And Jose lands on an Assassin emblem from the Stage 5 carousel. If he finds a Viego or a Kha'Zix, I don't think Kha'Zix on the board. Oh, it is. Okay, so he needs to find the Viego. And we're going to be so much more powerful.
It's going to be tougher from this position. We're very far away from level 8. It's going to be at least 3 or 4 rounds before we can even think about it. But the Assassin on the fiddlesticks is best in slot. You love to see
Yes.
it. We've moved a couple things around here.
Kale.
You're right. It
It
was
happens. I love
Kale.
it. I love it. This is great. Oh, how's the Shojin Lulu too? The buff the
Okay.
attack speed.
Yeah, and so this is, one of those investment comps, right? Attack speed for Kale. Everything is for Kale, right? Just like we saw with the Jax earlier on, we have maybe one of the worst Thief's Gloves rolls you can ask for that unit. The Hodge might be nice. It might solve a problem a little later on, but this Kale just doesn't seem to be as strong so far. We do need it to see. Oh, I am wrong. Look at all that damage. Look at the attack speed. Look at the potential round win, but it's gonna be the Thresh Hook. This attack speed, though, huge. We're getting a little bit of Life Seal 2 from the Bloodthirster. Not enough. Kale 2, though, might have been able to take that.
Ah, man, maybe if the Kale was in the corner, or not in the corner, and the Lux or the Draven was there instead. The awkward thing, though, is that the Banshee's Claw is in the Lux, and you like to corner Lux, but you want to have all the value from it as well, from the item. Oh, man, if not for that Thresh Hook, Kale would have won the round. Oh, landing on 2 kills, actually. One more.
Do you keep rolling?
I mean, there's a couple of things to hit here. There's the Garen, there's the Draven, there's the Kale. It's not like you're just rolling for one unit. That feels.
And we have a little bit of time, right?
Yeah.
But these health totals are actually really low for this point in the game compared to previous rounds. As again, this is the counter though. When Kale is good, Nocturne will be good, right? That is a 1-to-1 ratio in my opinion. So this is a comp. I feel like this is a comp that I feel like should be lose against Kale, right? But it's all these other fights that are really, really interesting to me, especially since it's been able to do a lot better against these tankier front lines than in the past, as it's going to be the Jax against the Nidalee. Things, a little bit closer than I think we want it to be, but Zeke gonna take the dub there. 47 HP at the top of the leaderboard. Not that much, as we have 2 eliminations, Galio Baby and Rengar Bot, unable to surpass the best spot so far that they've had so far today, which is 7th place.
Unfortunate there for Rengar Bot. Galio as well. Runeans is going to be the dragon item for Dao Fu. Not amazing, but can maybe find a little bit of value on the Draven. Needs to hit these upgrades. I wonder if Thresh is upgraded. What does that go in? Does it go in over the Garen? Honestly, I guess it's tough. Potentially. Thresh could be the difference in some fights. Draven 2 is found. Pretty sure it's just rolled down to 0 here. Has to be.
Whew, man, you see the yellow border and you get a little excited, and then you realize it's not for the unit that you want, especially when it's like that. Anytime you're looking for Kale, this happens, which is you'll see every single other legendary unit until you're dead because you never found your 3rd Kale. Is potentially what might happen here, depending on how badly we lose. We're at 6-1, so if we lose by more than 2 units, we're out of here, or even 1 unit. So nice Thief's Gloves roll for this Galio. We at least get that extra little help with the Zephyr, and the Kale very, very safe right now. Looks like it's pretty good against this Akshan comp so far. Should be pretty good against Jax as well. But we don't do enough damage so far. But once we transform, we should be good to go. Or not.
So fast attacks, but it's not enough.
It is not but remember, it needed to be 2 units. We only lose by 1, so we get another chance.
Kill 2 needs to happen. I mean, this kill attacks fast, but as we saw, it's just not enough damage.
It's like one of those
it's
slap
paper cuts again.
Comedic slap fights. Like, right? Is kind of where she's at. But, once we get to Kale 2, it's like, in those teen movies where when you take your glasses off, all of a sudden, they're the most popular person in school.
Yeah.
Right. Kale right now still has her glasses on, right? She's going to take her glasses off, and then she's going to win prom queen. Once we get there. But unfortunately, we're not even going to make it to prom if we lose once more. And so far, this Kale, I think, better than expected, but still, we won the first lobby, which I think is kind of just still running in our heads. But other than that, it's bot forward both times
Yeah.
so far.
And oh yeah, that fight was not even close. The Zyber 3, Nunu 3 from Foam Gang stops the Kale in its tracks. Banshee's Claw didn't even protect enough against it. Zeruma falls in 6th.
Ooh.
Daofu falls in 5th. Ever drops in 4th. And guess who's back to the top 4? It's Jose Paulo.
Not on fire this time, though. So
No.
actually did just get beat by the Ranger comp, which sounds so weird to me to be like the good thing against Nocturne, to say it's Rangers. But both Aphelios and Akshan have the ability to target that Nocturne and take him out, at least take that Revenant proc out to start. Maybe we get some CC afterward to help out. But this is the strongest in terms of power level lobby that we've so far had today.
Looking like it. Foam Gang versus Jose in this matchup. Oh, the Zyra's going to cast into the Nocturne, but it's going to be the Banshee's Claw that stops the cast, stops the CC from coming through, allows Nocturne to just demolish the rest of the board here. The Fiddlesticks Assassin's going to do a lot of work as well, but it was Nocturne's like 13k damage. Takes out Foam Gang. Seek, I believe, drops that last round as well. Didn't see quite whose ghost they were facing. One of them. Oh, looks like Jose didn't quite want that Shiv. Wanted something else. Probably the Volibear, but gets punished for trying to be a little fancy.
I do that all the time, man. I know exactly how that feels. You only do it at that point in time, too, because you're feeling fancy, right? He had his fancy pants on today, and unfortunately, they didn't quite fit, and we tripped over our shoelaces there.
Yeah. Don't like to see that, especially in a top 2 situation. But these things happen.
Yeah, let's see if it's going to matter at the end of the day, as it's going to be the Jax comp against the Nocturne comp. And so if Jax is able to turn around, take down the Nocturne, the hard part is the res, right? You lose that aggro after you res out, but it's going to be Akshan once more. Ooh, my goodness, this is going to be close. I actually think Jose is going to lose out here.
Yep.
We finally have an answer for the Nocturne, and it is fully itemized Jax and Akshan along the way. Jose does get second, but we finally do have, it is the name of the company, someone making that giant slayer happen against Jose, taking that giant down.
Yeah, Jose definitely a giant. I mean, top 4 every single game, gets second that time around. I believe Seek gets back into the top 4 as well. We will have the scores in a little bit to confirm this, and actually right now we do. Yeah, Seek has improved each placement throughout the day. We love to see that, especially out of some solid players, but new to Fight Night, I suppose. To start the game with the day with a 5th, and a 3rd, then a 1st. Jose at 24 points, Seek with 21. Foam Gang as well, decently consistent, 19 points. Daofu and Ever with 16. And Zeruma, Gyalu, and Rengar down the line there. So all these players with, the 16 range all the way down to Ever can still make something happen in this game. The potential is there.
Yep. And I just want everyone to look at Daofu's scores just real quick. All 3 of those games are Kale games.
Yep. That just screams Kale right there. It's like,
right?
You high roll one Kale game in a low roll lobby, it looks fantastic. You get a first. Then you play Kale in like actual reasonable scenarios the next 2 games, and it's like, It's a 5th.
Yeah,
it's a 7th,
you get baited
and a little bit of a low roll game. Yeah.
Everyone's wrong. Kale is so good, blah, blah, blah. I just did it. And yeah, you do. But I think every one of us has been baited by that thought process at some point in our TFT lives. All the way back to, set 1, because Kale, I think, has been in 3 out of 5 sets. 4 out of 5 maybe, but
yeah,
so
set 1 Noble Kale, and then the 4 cost
Noble Kale.
And,
well, back in the days when you would build 2 comps at once. The one on your board and the nobles
just
on the bench.
Keep all the nobles tier 1 on the bench, and as soon as you hit, say, okay, they're all in there. Go.
Yep, and then it would be that against Draven almost every single game, if you remember. There were shapeshifters back in the day. But yeah, I mean, nostalgia. But we're going
Yeah.
into our last lobby, and it seems like people are starting to respond to Jose specifically. We do still get a second there. But I mean, if I'm playing at this point in time, I might not do this on ladder, but I might throw on my 2 chain vests onto somebody, just to start and be like, okay, I have my Jose thing right now, right? I could deal with it later, but as of right now, I should be fine with these assassins.
That's the Nautilus was. It was a Frozen Heart, it was a Bramble, and a ZZ Rot. Like 3. I mean, of course, it's not just going to be good against Jose, but it will be very, very good against Jose specifically. On the Nautilus, who is an Ironclad, it's just like all the pieces there are just like, let's counter Jose, just like all on a billboard there. We'll try to figure out that one, but it has been, I think, coming through with, I believe it was that Akshan and Jax composition, ones with multiple carries, so if the Nocturne lands on one of them, there still is something else. And the Jax usually isn't the primary carry in those scenarios. It is the Akshan. It just takes a while to get there, and you cannot always consistently do so. But it will probably be at least one player doing that as we do load on into game number 4, our last game of the night.
That was like the friendliest carousel I've ever seen in my life. Like everyone got a single item. It was very visually pleasing as well. What did Jose get? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Probably a glove. I mean, that's what he goes for because Nocturne loves to utilize glove items. I was gonna say, Jose looking to make it a 4 for 4 on top 4s.
Yeah,
looking to protect his win streak here on Fight Night.
Are you a glove guy? Are you someone who could rock some driving gloves?
Some drive? I don't even drive.
Oh, okay. Well, then,
so that answers that question.
I guess some gaming gloves. Same thing. You're driving your comps, right? Piloting your comps.
The closest thing I think I use are like compression sleeves. But that's of course not gloves.
Oh, speaking of compression sleeves, this is a good time as any to remind everyone to hydrate and stretch just real quick. Stretch those wrists out. That's very important. TFT actually has a lot of clicking, repetitive left clicking, so definitely
some
might not seem like
some
it,
not so necessary depending on who you are, but
stretch it out. Be healthy gamers, friends. And so 19 points here from Foam, and closing our eyes apparently as well.
Yeah, it's long blink.
Yeah, this is what it looks like on the inside of your eyes, just so you know. If anyone was scared.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, it's super similar.
There's like a light in my eye, so it's a little like that reddish, yellow tint to it, but it's pretty close.
Yep. Those items having a little bit of a life of their own there. But we're going to go into this first round at level 4, starting some things off with some Nightbringers. This is the first Vladimir opening we've seen today.
Yeah, they used to be very popular, actually, Vladimir openings, but they definitely have fallen off in favor of, just other stronger boards, whether they be like 3 cost focus, which it was for a very long time, or, full open forwarding and things like that. There was a Nocturne, didn't see if it was on Jose's board, but someone had a bow Nocturne somewhere.
Okay.
Oh, it was Rengar bot. We found it.
Is he gonna do it? He's got the bow as well. That could be. I mean, you know me, right? I've said this many,
I already know where this is going.
times. If I'm gonna play spoiler, I'm gonna be as annoying as possible.
No.
I want a whole Reddit thread about me at the end of it because I ruined the last lobby.
Compromising the integrity of TFT Esports.
I still to this day say Thray was being strategic. Anyway.
I agree. In that scenario, I actually agree. I'll say it, but there is griefing for a purpose, and there is just doing it because, haha, for fun.
Because I like making this sound.
Yeah, basically.
Right? God, there's something about it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. So, there's always like one kid. So I used to be a preschool teacher, and there's always one kid in every class that loves destroying other kids' block towers.
Oh,
right?
No.
I gotta ask my mom if I was one of those kids, because that totally would track.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing to admit, but I would not be surprised.
Yeah,
Just knowing you.
in the middle of eating paper, maybe I was destroying blocks. And you can get married and work in esports too. See what happened there? Don't
Yeah,
ever give up hope. Your dreams can
it's
come
just
true.
you go on a long spiel of self-deprecation, but then you're like, you know what? But I've done these things, so you can too. Like, spin it to be a positive thing for everyone out there. I absolutely love it. It's you like fit so much into such like compact statements. Only you could do it.
Only
That's
I
a
appreciate
talent.
it. I appreciate it. There's no one in the world like Boopasaurus, let me tell you.
I agree.
If there was, I'd probably hate that person.
That also tracks.
Yeah, I'd probably have a lot of tension when it comes to like if I were to meet myself, or if like I was, or if someone like me and I was their boss, I probably really struggle with that. Anyway,
game 4 conversation.
Yeah, game
happening.
4
This is
conversations. Something about it.
happens.
Yeah, we have a nice little opening here now for Daofu. This is going to be a little bit more common. Like you said, we have a couple 3-cost units, and when we can get the skirms in, along with a tanky skirmisher in the front line, we're feeling pretty good.
Definitely. The Yasuo not going to, of course, be a reroll Yasuo. It's just to carry these items. They'll do a decent job doing it. A lot of nice synergies on the board with 4 units. A great Lee Sin slam there on the ground. Means that it was almost a 4-0 in favor of Daofu. Not quite. Jose has 20 gold, though, on 2-3. I mean, we already know what he's doing. Don't even have to talk about Jose at this point. We'll, tune in with him on 3-6 and see what point is he at. What end does he get? Did he hit the Nocturnes? That's about that. Will Daofu, though, I think the more interesting thing, at least to me, is will Daofu go 4-for-4 Kale?
We'll see. I would love for Kale to get 6 points here, so it'd be 2-4-6-10.
Just everywhere on the spectrum of
just to leave today with absolutely no more good information from Kale.
We're just like, okay, Kale works sometimes and doesn't work other times.
Exactly.
Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? That's when you like throw your papers up. But I would love to see that Kale. Just in general, just again to compete against some of these other comps. And once again, it seems like Karma needs a couple more buffs in order to be around here. And we haven't seen any of that Legionnaire reroll at all.
No.
Vel'Koz only appeared in the first lobby, and I think that's because there was a good amount of large rods, I believe, on that first carousel there. So, we're getting that variety, but it does seem like Nocturne versus Akshan has been the name of the game in the late game so far here today.
At least in this lobby, because Jose is going to bring the Nocturnes again, and every lobby wouldn't be the same thing. We haven't seen, I guess, a little bit less Draven than I thought we would as well. I guess we've seen it a few times. A lot of it is kind of like Jax Flex, Akshan Aphelios kind of things. A smattering of AP comps that have not really done that dominantly either, unfortunately. But also, moving back to the Kale conversation, there will be one thing that we learned from today about the Kale comp is that at least we know that it's not just like OP, right? And there probably wasn't going to be, but she did get buffed. So there's always the, hey, what if, with other things get nerfed, some things get buffed. We know that Kale is not fully dominant. She won't just be Kale 1 and win the whole game.
That's always the fear, because Kale has lived in that spot many times. So. I believe in set 4, I would say Kale is probably one of the hardest units to balance in the entire game. I don't think we ever felt perfectly balanced with Kale at any point in set 4. Definitely set 1. Which was, here's invincibility.
Set 4,
have more invincibility.
Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. I believe Kale was even in set 3 as well, because I remember Galaxies and like the 4-cost Galaxy.
It was a 2-cost, I believe, right?
I thought it was a 4-cost, because I'm pretty sure you could get it off of the 4-cost Galaxy on the opening carousel. And if you get the kill, you just like you just win. Yeah.
That's right. I remember that now. That's right. So Kale's been in 4 out of 5 sets then.
I believe
just like Fiora. Why is Fiora getting all the love?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
Good for
Kale. I guess Kale's been around this whole time. No wonder we have such like intense opinions about that unit.
True.
Because there's like a lot of history in when it comes to Kale, especially since Kale, I think only once has not been a 4 or 5 cost. Right?
Oh god, now I'm like.
And so, but still, regardless,
4 cost, 4 cost.
we know her as a carry. We know her. we know her in this capacity, and so it is really nice to know that we're safe from those days of Kale. Because, you know, admittedly, that wasn't that great. You would need an Ari to kind of like throw a spirit bomb or something right on the right place. But now there's a lot more counterplay, arguably too much counterplay when it comes to the Kale. But we do see it work. If it's a slower lobby, you have the time to get it and you get the rolls, right? And those things go right, and you're able to identify those opportunities and make those correct choices. Then again, just like Daofu in lobby 1, you can run away with the lobby. But we also have an assassin player here, and Kale's inevitably going to be a lot harder to play when you have an assassin player in a lobby.
Yeah, and going back to how each specific lobby is going to, you know, is going to function, and the reason why that Kale worked so well in lobby number 1 is because the slower pacing of the lobby, and it takes a very intelligent TFT player to recognize, hey, this lobby is going to be overall slower. It requires constant scouting, constantly being able to determine what is my board's power level going to be versus other boards. Am I actually going to have the econ and the start to go for this style of play? There's so many factors that actually go into it that I think a lot of people, players even sometimes too, as well as viewers, take for granted that there's a lot of information that each TFT player is constantly processing. And the reason why that, you know, you're going to need to jam a lot of games to figure out all of those situations. And it is a new patch, right? So this is the kind of testing period, but every single game in Fight Night on a new patch is always very valuable information, and why we see game number 1 look so different than game number 4 so many times.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're having a reminder that Kale was a Valkyrie at one point. That's what we were talking about, I think, in terms of when that was pretty nuts. Misfortune was the Valkyrie as well.
Yes, yes.
At that point.
She was a 4-cost back, or yeah, I think she was 4-cost then at that point. It was in set 4.
But this IE, Last Whisper, from Seek this time. So we have
wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute.
Straight up contesting Jose at this point in time, because I think a couple people are like, you know, I've done enough to potentially just come back if I get top 4. Why don't I make some impact? As Jose at 48 HP, we have Last Whisper IE, we have Assassins here with Seek. This is literally the first time this has happened to Jose since Fight Night has started, in terms of being contested on that comp.
Yeah. Oh, Jose's just playing Draconic. I mean, just obviously not going to stay in there, but just for some gold generation, Jose is probably going to drop to Stimmy range after this round and be on the same pacing that he was in games 1 and 3. Again, Jose is just playing the cards dealt to him, playing solitaire, but will the extra contention of somebody else throw a wrench into his plans? I will say probably so. Like, you're probably not going to hit Nocturne 3 in that scenario, so Jose might go bottom 4 for the first time tonight.
Could happen. We've seen it happen before. I'll never forget the Yiggles Jose matchup like 4 weeks ago, where Jose almost top won that comp and had 7 HP for like 11 rounds.
Yeah.
After getting that Nocturne, and ended up bottom 4ing because, again, 7 HP was too little too late in order, you know, to survive a couple of the rock, paper, scissors situations, which can happen to an assassin player. Outside of, you know, historically, I think the only one that, you know, wasn't that vulnerable at any point was Kassassin. Again, in set 1. or it's at set 2 with Voids. But now that we're here, I also still want to see if Daofu is playing that Kale still. We are at 100 HP at the top as we move over to Jose, whose econ is actually looking real good. Stimmy's going to be a loaded dice and a belt.
Going to 7, rolling it down. You know, we're missing a pretty key unit here, Boop. Starts with a knock, ends with a turn.
There isn't one. There isn't one right now, and you can tell we're a little dizzy. See, sometimes that's all it takes, right? What's really funny is the way that this has gone, no one actually needed to play Nocturne, since the game was just going to tell you no anyway. Because I don't think there's been a lot of Nocturnes out there, but this is the weakest Jose has been at this point at any time. And again, assassin players will go low. Right? This is exactly where you would expect. This is where it's been the last couple other times, but because we aren't consistently going to be able to stabilize, we actually might get him knocked out way earlier than any other lobby so far.
Yeah, if Jose goes 8th, that turns the whole lobby on its head. Oh, okay, quick as silver. Certainly a very big appeal if we are going to go for that Nocturne, which, I mean, Nocturne only, right? It's still on the screen. We have an Aphelios right now, but he's just playing item holder.
At
Still,
least the
being on 0
Diana can
Nocturnes at this
fit.
point, I don't think we've seen Jose in this spot in such a long time, with literally
Yeah,
0 Nocturnes.
it's almost like it got patched out or
Yeah.
something. And we have a baby brigade on the field too, which is just tier 1 units outside of the set. And you know, it's just too little. It's like tissue paper going into war, right? And hopefully it's not going to get damp at the same time and just completely fall and keel over, because not only are we at risk of losing, we're at risk of losing by wipes right now, which is very, very scary.
Yeah, goes against Ever, who looks pretty weak, honestly, so should be able to take out most of the units here. Maybe just 1 or 2 will survive. Yeah, will be 2 unless... Oh, okay. It is 1. Takes out the Nautilus.
Good
Extra
loss.
couple of HP. Yeah, good loss, good loss. Jose's items also are pretty good. He's 1 bow away from perfect item Nocturne. Is, likes to use rods for the locket. Belt is decent if we get another.
He's committed. He
Yeah,
is committed.
Of course.
Yeah. We haven't seen, again, a single Nocturne get rolled into.
Really want to see this roll down. Yeah.
Not a 1 Nocturne, because we have the loaded dice to help compensate a little bit, but we have literally every other aspect that we need other than the carry.
Oh, there's one. The first Nocturne from an orb. All right,
and
the second one.
That's big.
Oh man, the thing is, if Jose lands on Nocturne 2 and gets to and like Fiddle 2, okay, he was forced to use the dice just to the Nocturne 2. I was gonna say, if he rolls into it naturally and doesn't use the dice there, he could go for Nocturne 3 and still win the game. This is not bad though. He gets an extra glove for the Banshee's Claw. If he gets a bow from this 4-2 armory. Oh, actually, isn't gonna make the claw yet. Okay.
I mean, don't need to. If we lose, we're gonna be fine, right? The difference between 28 HP
and won't
and
lose this round either way.
Yeah, and so like, and the difference between 28 HP and like 20 HP is not really that big of a deal right now. As we're starting to get some big losses. Also, Dao Fu still at 100 HP. Hashtag Jose just gets Nocturne. But the scary part is that might not last for very much longer, as the stacking trap claws seem to be getting a little bit more popular.
Wait a minute.
And this is going to be a tanky Aatrox, but is going to be a losing Aatrox too, as Jose wins the first round so far, as we get the bow. Last Whisper online. Now all we need is the spat for the assassin Fiddlesticks, and we're pretty much good to go.
Yeah. It's gonna actually Morello. Yeah, okay, it's gonna Morello the Fiddle, so saving the glove. It could still be a Banshee's Claw, but if Jose lands on the spatula on this carousel, that would be absolutely massive.
He should be picking first or second, so you're feeling moderately comfortable about it. But spats are inherently a lot more rare, can't you tell? Yeah, just by the conversations that we've been having, right? They just haven't really been around all that much, and we haven't even had a good amount of tomes today either. So not a lot of spat items. Very different from 3 weeks ago when we saw 6 on one team.
Yeah, just one of those days. It just happens like that, right? Not too much you can do about it. Foam Gang trying to utilize Velka as forced Bellweavers, but Diana is going to put an end to any of that conversation. Foam Gang needs to level to 8 soon and continue this roll down. They've already spent a lot of gold to do so. Do they greed one more turn? I feel like if I was watching like a K3 Soju stream, you'd be like, F it, like, just sack one more. We're gonna go all in on 1 HP and hit.
You're gonna have the most money possible in that situation as Foam Gang now. Looking at a Kale. Just looking at it.
Looking at a Kale, yeah. That's
just looking at it.
There's no way the pivot.
No, not at all.
Unfortunately. Unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, but...
Also, Daofu's still at 100 HP, by the way. This is very late in the game for 100 HP, so... that's kind of nuts. At this point in time, too, looking at the rest of the lobby, Daofu could lose, 4 rounds in a row and still be in first place. So they're at like an 85% possibility of getting that top 4 is we're going to cross the beams and do a little bit of some headbutting actions, like 2 rams going after each other
Yeah,
for
right.
dominance. But it's going to be the surviving Vel'Koz. It's going to support their Arnold a little bit better. As Jose actually lost that last round, by the way. 14 HP.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Any spatulas? No spatulas either. There is a belt, so Jose could
And a
grab
Kale.
that. Oh, actually, the Volibear. There is a Kale, yeah. Grabs the
Sorry.
Volibear for Revenant. No, I mean, I love it.
Just going to point it out every time Kale is on screen now.
Maybe if it goes to last pick, which it might because it's Kale, then Doubtful can pick up the Kale. No, okay, it gets taken by Gallo. Never mind. That dream comes to an end.
Yeah.
Gallo wants the glove for the glove.
Hopes slashed and dashed. I'm going to cry after this because of this.
I know.
Emotional turmoil. Seriously. I just want to see Kale one more time, even though I'm pretty sure I know what would happen. As we get Vel'Koz 2, one of the first again, interesting choice. The thing is if Nocturne goes over to the Zyra, the hard part is Vel'Koz will get that first ult off, maybe get through that Nocturne, but we'll have to get a second ult to get through the second life of that Nocturne as well, if the first one isn't interrupted by a Volibear, for example. So pretty risky, can work, but things do need to fall into place.
Ooh. Okay, land on a good board, land on good positioning. The 3 redeemed is in. The Fiddlesticks now has the Spellweaver, and the Vel'Koz is on the right side to take down the Varus. One more cast, especially with that Radiant Archangels, means that this fight will be won. Yep, there we go. Took a little bit longer than I expected, actually, to take down the Varus, but
yeah, it's only going to be a 1-unit loss, too. Even with an ultimate, this Aphelios has got no chance. Zaruma, once again, seems like favors that early game, but having a little bit of a hard time sticking around in the late game. Has a lobby win. So we know it is possible, but Dalfu's still at 100 HP. This is one of the latest I think we've ever seen. I think Numano might be the only other person I remember having 100 HP at this point, but he also did it like 4 times.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But after this next NPC round, the rest of the lobby should also start getting pretty strong. But as we get longer and longer into the game, that 100 HP becomes even more impressive. Just the fact that it's there and happening.
Definitely. Yalu, another Vel'Koz player. All of a sudden we have a couple of them. Vel'Koz is really, it seems like the only AP option that is consistent and reliable. Does get Thresh Hooked, however. And the Varus is only a 2-cost unit. Could still maybe win out in this round if the hook comes through, and it does to cancel the Vel'Koz beam. And all of a sudden, there we go. Varus is winning versus a Vel'Koz 2.
All right. Is this going to be, is this going to be a lobby that's going to end up with some tentacles at the end of the day? Or are we going to be some Akshan Jackson right now? And we're going to go ahead and move those items. Varus, strictly an item carrier for most of these comps. We had a hot minute where Varus Akshan was like a thing for like a lobby. That was sick. I think it got second place. But outside of that, not really seeing a lot of those, 4 Rangers. It's always been the 2, but it's going to be Knight Ironclad Redeemed. This is a very popular front line for most backline carries. We can see this move into Kale. We can see this move into Jax, as well as both of them are going to be on the bench.
No Kale says goodbye to that one. Relpair is here, though. We'll run Jax and Akshan, I believe, and Jax upgrade is online.
This beat the Assassins last time. Remember this exact comp. So maybe that's why we're pushing this particularly hard right now, as we roll all the way down.
Daofu still on 100 HP throughout all first 4 stages. Usually when we see 100 HP players fall, it is going to be like end of stage 3, maybe early stage 4. But getting to this point is absolutely insane. Very impressive. Zaruma going up against Seek, the Nocturne player who's decided to contest Jose. Is only on 4 Nocturnes, 0 gold, level 7. Probably will not be in this game for much longer, but okay. Wins this round.
All right, so Jose never builds Rageblade on Nocturne ever. I don't think I've seen it once. It's if the preferred item for Jose doesn't get there, it seems to be RFC. seems to be what we like to use. We're going to use QSS this time around, but it has never been the Rage Blade, and that Rage Blade actually becomes the game changer there. So is that going to be the case again? As we're at 14 HP, we are on a 3-game win streak, so we have stabilized, and Daofu did lose out for the first time pretty badly with a 21 HP loss. Or just 11, because that's math.
Yeah, math. A lot of the HPs are looking pretty close, though. At least from 3rd to 8th, only a 13 HP gap there. Jose on a pair of Ukshans, denying it from the rest of the lobby, and it's, you know, gonna get a little bit of value in this comp as well. Really wants to land on a Viego. Then would be able to have 6 assassins. Zephyr, where does it hit? Okay, lands to the Nidalee, not quite hitting the Jax. Might still be okay, though.
From being Zephyred at that point in time, I believe. And we do have that Assassin Fiddlesticks in the back line, but look at how much damage it's already taken. But enough buttering up for that Nocturne to finally make its name known. But with that, QSS is actually going to avoid that Viego ultimate, and because of that, is going to continue ramping up. That's going to be on fire streak now for our Assassin player at level 8. Remember last time Jose got second in the lobby, we were at level 7 for a very, 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 very long time, and we're doing even better this time. And remember, folks, this was a full pivot from a Draconic comp, like, not that long ago.
Yeah, I mean, Jose just plays whatever, honestly, until level 7. Whatever stabilizes HP or gets most gold generation. So it was a Draconic comp opener, that is for sure. Jose knows how to make that pivot work very, very well. There's no option to land on Nocturne 3, though, because it is contested by Seek. Both players, though, are below 15 HP. Jose is on a streak, though. Gets a nice Zephyr onto the Fiddlesticks, at least.
Okay. Vel'Koz gets ulted, and that was the problem that we pointed out earlier, right? Is you got to have good ultimates. You got to get the full charge, and if he gets interrupted, you are all of a sudden, that's your only advantage getting taken away. But with this Thornmail, takes down the Nocturne. Like I'm saying, if you know you're going to have a Nocturne player in your lobby, just build the Thornmail.
Wait a minute.
Just do it, as Jose is going to fall, but not completely. 3 members remaining of this lobby at single-digit HP, 4, 7, and 9, going up to 11, 16, 29, and then Daofu kind of having to scream at the rest of the lobby to kind of remember where everyone is. Are you guys still down there?
Another assassin from Jose. I mean, that's going to be 6 sins on the board.
Yeah, the 6 deadly
it's
sins,
a lot
right?
Stronger. 6 deadly sins, true. Just missing 1. But that's the Viego. Ever So Much drops an 8th, our winner from last week. Unfortunately, not a repeat performance. In fact, not even in the top 4, unfortunately.
All right, Volabear rolling bad. Right now. We get the Volabear in. We get our 4th Revenant in, which will always be good for Nocturne. More health when you res. That's nice. And that's, you know, Volabear also got a little bit of a nerf, has 1,000 HP to start now, so is going to ult even less without these Revenants, but we're going to put in the Mystic instead because we've got Vel'Koz on the table right now, and we're going to be able to move that around based off of what our like final 3 lobby is, assuming Jose does make it. But another Thornmail, people are learning.
Yeah, Thornmail and Declaw on the Jax. It's the tankiest Jax I have probably ever seen. Is enough to tank this Nocturne, though. I mean, it goes into the Revenant state. The Fiddle is there to try to help out the Nocturne. This Jax is still alive, still healing up with the Bloodthirster, but it's not going to be enough. Jose hangs on for another round. Daofu continues to bleed. Rengar goes out in 7th. Seek goes out in 6th. Jose, you know, you can test him, but he's the Assassin Master, so you're not going to outplace him, unfortunately, for Seek. And that was a very risky call. Seek was 2nd place going into this game, decides to contest Jose, and might actually, with that, drop out of the top 3, maybe even top 4. We'll see.
And that was always the risk, right? Running a comp that someone has been running in a top 2 situation almost all day today, like, you're probably not going to be as good. But I do appreciate the kind of gall to do just that. I love that kind of play, because if it was successful, right, I probably would have done this earlier on to kind of keep Jose a little off kilter. But I appreciate the attempt here, as the Vel'Koz is going to rip through a lot of the units here. Daofu having a little bit of a hard time right now, and even though this has got that Dragon Claw, has got that Thorn Mail, it is not going to be enough, as Daofu, we're not bleeding, we are hemorrhaging right now.
Yeah. That is not looking good. Gyalu goes out in 5th. Jose's done it, even while being contested, gets in the top 4 yet again.
Ooh, triple item, a dragon as
Okay.
well. So
Ooh, some decent
all of
ones
our
too.
friends who haven't been able to get our nice items so far, we have some good options, particularly for this comp.
Yes, we do.
Shojin's for the Akshan, potentially. Rageblade can be pretty good on him too.
Yep.
Nice kind of all around. Even the double locket might be a good little defensive tech to cause a little bit of a headache for everyone else.
Mayhap so. Again, Morello's probably gonna land on the Volibear. Okay, pair of Volibears here. I mean, Dafu is level 9, so legendaries are gonna be raining down from the shop.
Put the Kale in.
Gwen goes
Just
in.
because
There's
you have a Rage
oh
Blade.
my.
Anytime you see a Rage Blade, I feel like I think of Kale. But now we're starting to go to business school, as we get some very expensive units in. This is very close to like a Bill Gates / Piba type of style of comp. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tier 5 units there.
Oh.
Or 5 cost units. Rage Blade is going to go on the Akshan, so it will.
Okay, definitely a little dizzy.
Sphere.
There are some Banshee's Claws in the Lee Sin that don't make an appearance here. Gonna make this board a lot weaker. That didn't have to be the case. I mean, Volibear Slam is huge.
Yeah.
Viego's gonna try to do some work.
Ooh, Thornmail still finding value outside of the Nocturne comps. The Gwen seriously doing a lot of work too. Remember, Gwen is going to snip stats away from you. So not only are you going to get some stats taken away from the things like the Akshan, the Gwen is going to take flat stats away from you too. So the next time Akshan ults, you're going to be a lot more vulnerable. As we have double Trap Claw, I'd probably put it on the Gwen at this point in time. Or
yeah. The Viego items will be really nice in the Gwen, actually, because, I mean, Gwen snips a lot harder now, too, with the recent changes. So damage Gwen shouldn't be off the table of consideration. Won't end up doing it, though. Will indeed, like you mentioned, just put the Banshee's Claws in there. 1 regular Banshee's Claw, 1 Radiant. Hasn't hit any of the legendaries that are like carries, though. Like, did hit the Volibear, the Garen, and the Gwen, but no Akshan 2, no even Viego pair as of right now. A little unfortunate.
Yeah, this Gwen, I think it needs to start kind of popping off, taking some of the stats away, and it does. So it is going to be able to survive a couple of the Revenant ults, and these Nocturnes actually didn't do that well, as Jose gets blasted out of here. Zaruma might be next, still fighting on that round, and loses. Thank goodness it was a ghost, because that would have been an elimination. So 6-3 could potentially be the end. And I don't remember the last time I saw someone win a lobby literally from beginning to end, like Daofu might be able to do right here, right now.
Yeah, this is a bit of an outlier game, honestly, right now for Daofu. 100 HP until stage 5, and might win the game with 46 HP. Didn't even lose that much in his transitional phase. Didn't transition away from that much either. Like, this Jax is still here, the one that he's had for so long. It's just been, get him in with some other good units. Did sell the Akshan, so now the Garen will have a couple items that you probably won't usually see on the Garen, with the Shojin and the Rageblade.
Hey, Shojin Rageblade has always been like a nice combo together, right? More attack speed, more mana, right? Even though Garrett gets mana locked for quite a while after that ultimate, but it's going to end up working out. Fastest Garen auto attacks I've seen, but it's going to be Zaruma bringing this right back in. This isn't over, folks.
Not quite. Daofu has a couple more rounds to try to piece something else together. There is another Viego. We'll give him closer. Yeah, there we go. Closer to Viego too. And the Bramble will be good as well. There's already Bramble on the Jax. Here we go. Viego too. Oh, actually, he still has the stimmy. I keep thinking about that. And so
Yeah.
it's so late in the game. I'm like, oh yeah, clearly that's already done through. Now it gets a Zephyr with the components.
That's a
Oh
big
man,
deal. A Zephyr,
and the loaded
Zephyr,
dice.
arguably the best late game item in the game. We've seen Zephyrs win rounds for people, win whole lobbies for people, as the loaded dice might just stick around because we have everything we need. We got a tier 2 Volibear, tier 2 Garen, tier 2 Viego, tier 2 Gwen, right? We've got a lot of money on this board, but will money equal happiness? We'll find out in a couple rounds, or maybe even
Ooh.
this one.
All right, gets the Zephyr onto the Jax. The Viego is tier 2'd, and the Jax will not be focusing it thus far. The Jax from Daofu's side is trying to tear through the front line. Viego, oh, gets the cast off on the Jax, but gets CC'd actually by the Nautilus. This Viego not getting any good steals there. Might be a difference.
Yeah, I mean the Gwen also got stolen, and so this it's,
Yeah.
haircuts abound for everybody. Unfortunately, none of them looked good for Dalfu, and we're gonna have to get a new one here in just a second. As this is what I like to call desperation positioning, right? Where we're kind of just moving things around and just hoping it's going to work.
It's like
But this
backline
is
didn't work, so we got to try something else.
exactly because we lost. So we have to do something different, right? But this should be the last round, Khroen, and Zaruma has done quite a good job at bringing this right back, even a level below.
Oh, the fiddle didn't move in time. But, oh, might actually still be a decent Zephyr. It does land on the Jax. Really the battle of Viegos right now, honestly.
We got our first conversion in the backline. It's going to be the tank. Ooh, Volibear ult going to lock everyone up, but it's going to be Daofu that's going to have to respond after this ult a little bit faster, and it's looking pretty good so far. The Gwen able to do the snips and the snaps, and unless something crazy happens, this is going to be a Daofu win beginning to end. First place.
Got a little dicey there at the end, but that reposition there to frontline everything meant that the Viego got to land on some good units, didn't get targeted by the Jax either, and his Jax was able to do a lot of good work as well. Props there, because not often, in fact, very rarely do we see a player, as you're mentioning, lead from start to finish. Huge props there, but we have the scores ready for these 4 games. So let's take a look and confirm and see who wins out on the day. It will be Jose Paulo, taking first place, top 4ing every single game. How does he do it? We'll get a chance to talk to him soon and ask him that question. Daofu in second with 26 points. Foam Gang in third with 25. And yes, Seek drops out of the top 3 and will not be here next week because of contesting the Nocturne. Boop, what are your thoughts on that one? You're knowing, but like,
oh, that's painful. That's like the exact thing that you don't want to see. Because even losing by like, oh my goodness, remember when I said that 5th place also in lobby 1 is gonna end up all of that ended up happening. So
yeah.
Oh my goodness, because Seek almost got 4th in that first lobby. And look at who did. It was Jose. So while that wouldn't have helped against, Foam or Daofu, that's pretty brutal. Everything that could have gone against Seek in the final tallies ended up happening, but a little bit brought on because of that Nocturne contest. Maybe a little too big for our britches there.
Oh man, that is a heartbreaker to see, honestly. But at least Seek will be earning some money, for their efforts here. We're going to get Jose on the line to tell us exactly how this game of solitaire but TFT works out. And I believe we're going to have him on the line. Jose, congratulations yet again on coming back to Fight Night and coming back with a vengeance and securing that victory yet again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, as usual. Really appreciate it.
As usual.
As usual. You already know. You're a regular here, Jose. It's just, you're playing Nocturne. Obviously, love the composition. I want to maybe for players who are interested in maybe running this for themselves and, say what you want at your own risk. You might get some people contesting you on ladder, but what is your kind of style of play, your philosophy, if you want to break it down a little bit for how exactly you play Nocturne?
Oh, I love playing eco-heavy. I don't like playing win streak borns unless I know for a fact I can guarantee my win streak. So pretty much every game is a speed run to 40 HP. Get my stimmy, get my advantage before everybody, watch Netflix before the game actually starts, you know. So that's pretty much how I play every game. And if I do get a good win streak opener, which I didn't get a single time today, I'll play it. But usually you'll see me sell like my entire board and just play like one unit to try to solo creeps. And then if I get 10 gold, I pretty much just I feel like I'm already in a really good spot. So
Just
yeah.
just to expand on that a little bit, what maybe might be a situation where you'd be tempted to play win streak opener? Like, is it a specific unit? Is it a, you know, if you randomly hit like a Nocturne too early, like what does it have to be to persuade you to play that win streak opener?
I think it requires me having like one good win streak item, like maybe an IE or like a really good offensive item, and then an upgraded unit to go with that. That's pretty much the only time I'll ever do it. So for instance, like an early upgraded Sentinel skirm board, I think that always that comes to like every high elo player's mind. But yeah, other than that, I won't play any other board. I'll just full open.
All right.
So my question to you, right, is why does it take the whole lobby so long to respond? I mean, it's on your Twitter overlay, not your Twitch overlay that you're going to play Nocturne, right? And then someone did contest who actually drops out of the top 3 because of it in that last lobby. You started playing Draconic, sold all but 2 units. You anchored on the Diana, right? Is that just... Is there just not a lot to, you know, counter this Nocturne when you're that far ahead? Or is that more, you know, your positioning and your play bringing you the dub?
I think my early, like the thing is like I already commit from like literally stage 1. And I know for a fact that the person that was contesting me, like the spot I was level 750 gold, he was level 630 gold. So I already knew that I would have a much higher, even if I'm contested, I have a much higher chance to just fully upgrade my board at level 7 and then just push levels. Because if I try to roll at 7 contesting that guy, I'll just get out-tempoed by the entire lobby. So if I push levels, I'll have a higher chance of like top 4ing, which is what ended up happening.
So is there a world where you don't play Nocturne?
Yeah, but I think in tourneys, like I like one tricking, and you become a threat. Like because they know if they contest you, you're already winning like the mental game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So if I ever decide to play anything else, you'll probably see it at Fight Night. But honestly, like I'll probably just stick to what I know.
Yeah, and you take a lot of the variables away when it comes to playing flexibly, right? You have to just remember a lot more stuff. And then if you like force your Nocturne comps, then you're a lot more in control of your decisions. That totally makes sense.
Exactly.
Khroen.
Definitely. I mean, well, honestly, that about wraps it up for us, Jose. I mean, welcome back to Fight Night Rise. We missed you last week, but great to have you back. And of course, you know, being so dominant with the Nocturne that here's a Nocturne Whisper. It's just a thing. I'm sure we'll see you back, you know, next week running similar stuff. So we'll leave the floor for you for any shout outs, you know, where can we find you on the social medias, you know, the whole deal.
All right. Shout out to Dofu for top 2ing, first of all. Me and Dofu are from the Philippines, so Filipino pride, that's what's up.
Nice.
And hopefully a shout out for maybe Southeast Asia can get a world slot. That'd be nice. It's pretty much tourneys like this are the only chance we get to like show off our skills. And then shout out to my community: Murray, Araye, Pave, Keith, Sinas, Frosty, Kicks, Hansek. Am I forgetting anybody? Dang.
And that many names better not be forgetting anybody. Oh man.
Yeah. Grimmy and only one left. All the homies. K3U. Thanks guys. Kitul. Thanks guys. Thanks for waking up early in the morning to watch. Appreciate you all.
Appreciate you too, Jose. Congrats again, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Boop. There we have it. New patch, new set of players, but still the same Jose running Nocturne that we know and love. Happy to see him here. Happy to see him do so well as well.
Yeah, Fight Night maining Nocturne right now. Very, very successful so far. And one day it's going to change, and it almost did in that 4th lobby, right? But
yeah. He doesn't always play Nocturne. There are situations where he might not, and I was like, is this the time?
But if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? There's no reason to force decisions that don't need to be made. So much appreciated. I can learn a little bit from that myself.
Definitely. I mean, any last thoughts, Jose, aside from the day that you have here, Boop?
Kale, I leave with the same amount of information about Kale than I did coming in. We had that
Maybe
one
scrap
win.
more, one scrap
Yeah,
more. Like she's not OP. We could say
he's
that.
not OP, not OP, but we'll see. Kale, we're still learning. If there's a unit that TFT players will force to work, it's gonna be Kale and Draven.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in the next couple weeks.
We'll see. Players have another week to try to, jam some Kale on the ladder. Maybe find a build, find an item, pairing that'll make her OP, but we'll have to wait until then. This has been Khroen and Boop bringing you some more Fight Night Rising. We will see you here again next week.